if I keep ramming your head into a wall long enough, you'll start making some sense. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to the man who saved Millwall, Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Fanar. Hello.
I was going to say good morning to you until you put in that childish fanar.
Well,
What's
you didn't say
fanar mean?
Well, because it's a sort of a dopey way of laughing when you're actually not really laughing because you're so absolutely and utterly appalled by the behaviour of somebody who's supposed to be your partner in crime, who claims the credit for something which he had absolutely nothing to do with.
You have
which I single-handedly pioneered in a show that we did from 10 till 1 a couple of Fridays ago, where I single-handedly stood up for Millwall, said it was the best thing that anybody could do to get behind them, the best thing that anybody could do to keep them where they are, and not to allow any madman from any council, particularly in Lewisham, to bounce them out of Millwall from the den into somewhere in North Kent. You said that they should go there.
Yeah, but you have no subtlety, you see. The point is I have
no subtlety.
I had to raise
I've had plenty
the
of
issue.
subtlety working with you.
I had to raise the issue, and I raised the issue by posing the question. Now, I've had a lot of accusations thrown at me in the last few hours, maybe in the last 12 hours even.
Let me give you just some of those.
Accusing me
of being a hypocrite.
Of putting the Millwall people down and the fans down and the club down, and yes, being a hypocrite.
Yeah.
But
all of which is true.
Challenge anybody to produce a piece of audio, that is me speaking in words, in which I said I think Millwall should move to the North Kent coast because I never said it.
Well, we can find it.
No, I never said it.
We can find it because you did say that repeatedly.
I didn't.
You told people who called in who were Millwall fans that they should accept that many Millwall fans had moved to North Kent, which was based on no proof whatsoever, right? And basically, there is plenty of audio of you saying all of those things, but I don't wish to humiliate you and play it out.
Play it out. Because
you want me to play it out?
What I said was this. I said that actually Millwall had been unfortunately branded a sort of wild club over the years. Over the decades, they'd attracted an element of people who did not give them a very popular image, okay?
Yes.
What I said was, look at this. It's an opportunity to start again. If you want to grasp this opportunity, nobody's going to blame you for doing it. I did not tell them to move to North Kent.
You're reinventing history here.
No, I'm not.
You're pretending that you had
You haven't got any audio to prove otherwise.
Well, I can find it if I wish to.
Well, I'm sorry, but if you'd have prepared for this show properly, you'd have found it already. You cannot find it.
No, I could find it.
You've been looking for it for hours. I know that.
No, I haven't been looking for it.
I've been into our production department.
No, you don't even know where that is.
And you asked our production department to find some damaging audio.
But I'm going to ask them now, okay? Dave Levine, who is sitting behind the glass there, would you please find the audio of Mike Parry on Millwall, which was on the mid-morning show about 2 Fridays ago, the last Friday that we did the mid-morning show, in the first hour, around about any time between, I would say, 10:05 and 11 o'clock. Please find some audio of Mike Parry saying that Millwall should move to North Kent, and we'll play it out.
Good
I've now asked him.
Good luck with that. It does not exist.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely certain. And we've got 3-hour show here till 4 o'clock. Between now and then, you'll not be able to find a piece of damaging audio because I never said it. And I want everybody to know that I'm delighted that Millwall have an opportunity, because it's not done and dusted yet, by the way, an opportunity to remain...
Well, the compulsory purchase order has been cancelled.
Well, they have an opportunity
to
remain at the Den, which is a great thing. It's their ancestral home. All I ever did was pose the question to a certain element of Millwall fans: do you think this is good for you? Do you think it's an opportunity to reinvent your club and start all over again in a brighter and more acceptable sort of atmosphere than the one that has pervaded over the last 3 decades? It's as simple as that.
Well, that's fine. I mean, as long as you want to delude yourself and you want to pretend that you had something to do with it, then that's fine. And I was quite happy to start off the show saying that we together had made such a big thing of it that actually Lewisham Council had backed down.
Yes.
But since you're now being so single-handedly, ridiculously untruthful, I'm afraid
it was due to me.
Have to be exposed.
It was due to me.
No, it wasn't.
Because I raised the alarm.
You didn't even want to talk about Millwall. You didn't even want to talk about Millwall.
I did.
You didn't think it was a big enough club to talk about.
I did. I raised the alarm.
That's what you said to me.
And I said that, look, Millwall might move out. And I said, would that be an opportunity for them to reinvent themselves as a new, more popular club?
Didn't ask the question.
With a new fan base, perhaps, on the North Kent coast?
Your words were something to the effect of, you cannot stand in the way of progress, and you must go with the flow, and therefore you must move out of an area which is no longer suited to, top-level football.
I gave shortly
before they beat your second team, Bournemouth, in the FA Cup, of course.
I've got a second team, to be honest, and I have no connection with Bournemouth whatsoever.
Well, I thought all your family lived in Bournemouth.
Well, my family lived in Bournemouth, but we have
I thought you liked Bournemouth.
Well, I like Bournemouth as a town and as a place, and it's very nice and all that, but I have no affiliation to Bournemouth Football Club whatsoever. Why should I?
Well, because you're always going there.
No, I go there when Everton go there. And by the way, I'm delighted to say that the Spurs-Everton fixture, which was going to be at 3 o'clock on Saturday, March the 4th, and it would have been difficult, considering we now do our warm-up show on a Saturday, from 11 till 1.
From this week, it's 10 till 12.
10 till 12 it is this week. Yeah, that's right.
Because of the FA Cup scenario.
That's right.
Yeah.
But, there might have been difficulties there in getting up to White Hart Lane for a 3 o'clock kickoff.
Uh-huh.
Delighted to say
I'm very happy for you.
Spurs v Everton now rescheduled as a TV game, 1:30 on Sunday, March the 5th, which is great news.
Well, why is it great news?
Well, because it means that I'll have time to prepare for the game on Sunday morning.
I see. Well, I'm very happy for you.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'm very happy for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see why anybody else should be happy, though.
Well, I think
other people may have already arranged. I mean, this must be a terrible thing if you are a person that, say, works at certain weekends and you book a Saturday off to go and see Spurs-Everton, and then it turns out they've moved it.
Yeah, well.
And you can't change your day off, so you can't then go.
Well,
what happens
no.
if you bought a ticket?
Well, people have got plenty of notice for it, so I wouldn't worry too much about it
It's
at all.
not that far away, is it?
Listen, I've got a huge warning I've got to put out now, right at the start of the show.
Yeah, let me just read you this first.
Oh, yes,
Peter.
Yes.
Porky, if the audio of your gaslighting Millwall moving opinions gets played, you will be metaphorically vertically Rogerised.
No, not at all. Honestly.
I think we all know what he means.
Honestly, don't even worry about it, because I never slagged off Millwall. I never said the Millwall fans, were rubbish or anything like that. In fact, I know a lot of Millwall fans. They're very good people, yes.
Really? How many Millwall fans do you know?
Quite a few.
Really?
Quite a few, yeah. I think old Rod Little's a Millwall fan. And
you know him, do you?
Well, I know him. He's a literary giant.
When did you last speak to Rod Little?
Oh, I don't know, a few weeks back, few months back, something like that. I don't know. Don't keep a log of these things.
Dennis says, Porky, you're a liar. The FA Cup weekend, a couple of weeks back, you were slagging off Millwall and Vinnie Jones.
No.
That's true, actually.
No.
You remember that? You remember slagging off Vinnie Jones? You're going to deny that as well?
I didn't slag off Vinnie. I said
he was the worst footballer to have ever played in top flight football.
I said he was probably one of the worst one of the worst footballers.
The worst. You said the worst.
To play at the highest level, right?
Yeah, and he responded on Twitter by calling you an idiot, I seem to remember.
He said he did,
Is that idiot still on the radio?
He did indeed, yeah. Well, yeah, but he never denied it, did he? He just,
what do you mean he didn't deny it?
He just called me an idiot.
Well, he didn't sort of grace it with making a comment on it.
Anyway, look, there are far more issues, right?
Yeah.
I have come across a piece of information which says that if we don't watch it, we won't have any power in this country at all within 3 years.
Any power for what?
Any power.
What power to do what?
To put lights on.
Oh, what? Is this another one of your empty threats?
No, it's not an empty threat.
You said this before that we're going to run out of electricity.
We're not
going to run out of electricity.
Hang
Absolute
on.
nonsense.
I've got a study here. On January the 22nd, 2017,
yes,
because it was a cold and frosty
morning.
morning.
Just a few days ago.
That's right. There was no wind, okay?
Yeah.
Guess what? The total electricity demand in the UK was 41.26 gigawatts.
What does that mean? I don't even know what that means.
Well, just remember that figure, 41.26 gigawatts. Okay?
Okay, I'll remember that.
Of this, 7.02 gigawatts was supplied by coal.
Yeah.
Okay? 20.6 gigawatts by gas.
Yeah.
7.9 gigawatts was from nuclear power stations.
Nuclear, okay.
And guess what? How much do you think was produced
by... That only makes up to 34.
That's right. Yeah. How much do you think was provided
35.
By the massive turbine blades which now litter our land and our seas?
I don't know. The rest of it?
No, 0.3%.
0.3. Well, you know why? Because they took one of the blades out of commission and put it into the middle of Hull.
Well, they did,
so it's not actually making any power at the moment.
But the point is, when it gets very cold...
time, by the way.
But hang on, when it gets very cold...
What about the other sort of 6 or 7
Yeah, I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Where's
that
from?
Hang on, I'll tell you about that in a minute. When it gets very cold, there is no wind. That's a consequence of cold weather.
That's rubbish.
No, it's no wind.
That is not true.
Now then, let me tell you this. Wind energy across the UK on that day...
We've been to the Arctic, where people get wind burn from
We're not the Arctic.
Cold.
We're not the Arctic.
Feels like
wind energy on that day was non-existent, okay?
Well, that'd be why you didn't get any wind power.
Less than 1% of UK demand.
Yeah.
So the point is this, right?
Yeah, but the point about the wind turbines is that they store electricity in generators.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Of course they do.
They don't. Anyway, I have been told that if we keep closing down...
By who?
By experts, by fossil...
The voices in your head.
If we keep closing down fossil fuel power stations and do not go ahead with plans to build nuclear power stations much quicker than we are, the country will grind to a halt within 3 years, and there will be mass deaths from hypothermia. Oh, you think it's funny people dying, do you?
No, I think these ridiculous warnings of yours are ludicrous.
No,
I was in
not.
Borough Market today, right? I've never seen so many courgettes in my life. Never seen so many.
You know that next shortage?
Look at the time.
The next shortage?
Shortage of time is what we got.
Well, I've told you already about coffee.
Yeah.
Told you already about coffee.
Coffee?
Yeah.
No, you didn't tell me about coffee.
Yeah, coffee beans.
Coffee beans.
Coffee beans.
Right.
Massive worldwide shortage.
Well, maybe that's because so many people have got coffee machines and they're buying more of them.
No.
Anyway, we'll come back to that because we've got loads to do. We're talking about cats coming up later on in the hour, about how they are as intelligent as dogs. We've got Porkyvision as well. This is TalkSport.
What I'm saying is the new Millwall, and they should call themselves New Millwall, right? Move out to the Kent coast.
They can't play outside of London.
Move out to the North Kent coast, right? Get themselves a brand spanking new ground, which they would, because their ground's going to be seized and redeveloped. And then you've got a whole new football club.
How about we try and stop it being seized and redeveloped?
No.
I think we can start a campaign right here, right now. And there you have it.
Well, that didn't say that Millwall should close down their ground.
You just said they should move and call themselves the new Millwall. I mean, when I play it to you, you're still going to deny it?
No, what you've done is selective editing of a much longer piece. It is,
Would you like to hear more?
Well, it's presented in completely the wrong light. What I said was the circumstances are such that there is an opportunity now for Millwall, and then you bring in the quote, which is the killer quote, and it's completely out of context.
Well, it's not out of context at all.
Completely out of context.
I mean, you sound like Madonna now.
But anyway, look...
when I said I wanted to blow up the White House, that was taken completely out of context.
Yeah, I don't think that...
Why don't you just apologise, say you were wrong, and say, that actually it was a great idea that we both had to try and save Millwall, that I was very much the leader of. I don't really want the credit for it.
I have said already
I just despise the fact that you tried to twist everything to your own advantage.
I have said already today in print, I am delighted that Lewisham Council have thought again and that Millwall fans may still get their wish to remain where they are at the Den. That's a victory for the fans. I'm a man of the people.
Yeah, exactly.
I say 4-1 victory.
4-1?
Yes.
That's 81, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's...
What's that got to do with anything?
Well, that's an expression for, the victory. You know what I mean?
Some people are worried you're starting to get the early signs of dementia. There's one here from somebody who calls himself Porky's love child.
Oh, yeah.
I love Porky, but he is a hypocrite. I remember listening to it and saying that they should move. Hashtag dementia.
No.
And Chris says, oh dear Porky, we all heard it about Millwall backtracking so much. MG, you should own him.
No.
And Richard, rather unfortunately, says that you're the biggest liar in England. He says, you lied about Andy Murray winning the Aussie Open. Well, he didn't lie about that. He just said it would happen.
Yes.
And it turned out not to be true, which is technically not a lie.
Yes.
It is, in fact, a wrong prediction.
Yeah.
There's a bit of tennis going on tonight, actually.
There's a bit of tennis going on tonight. And anyway, you keep banging on about Millwall. I've made my position clear on that. What have we got to say about Liverpool's exit from the EFL?
The EFL Cup,
Is that what it's called now?
The EFL Cup
the
is called,
Cup,
yes.
yeah, that's right.
League Cup, it used to be called.
Used to be called the League Cup. Used to be called the Milk Cup.
You said also, by the way...
Used to be called the Rumbelows Cup.
It did, didn't it?
Used to be called the Barclays Cup, I think.
It did. Was it not Littlewoods Cup?
Littlewoods Cup as well, you're right,
was that the FA Cup?
No, that Littlewoods.
Yeah.
Worthington.
Yeah,
Worthington
that's right.
Cup, yeah.
Yeah, funnily enough, people were pointing out...
People
were pointing out earlier on Twitter as well that after the first leg, you said that there was no question that Liverpool would win in the second leg.
I said there's no question that Liverpool were expected to win the second leg because they, with a 1-goal deficit going back to... By the way, I just worked it out in my head.
Really?
Yeah, Liverpool, and by the way, everybody's saying, I bet you're smirking now, Liverpool are out. No, I'm not. I don't have any feelings about any other club except my own, which is Everton.
You were pretty happy with Swansea beating them on Saturday.
No, I wasn't.
There's pictorial evidence of it.
No, you stitched me up with that. You said, show me a picture of the Everton victory roll, right? So I did. And
no, I didn't. We've already had this conversation.
I had no idea that
Everton hadn't played yet. It was before Everton kicked off.
I know, but you told me to imitate an Everton victory. Now, what I'm saying is that Liverpool got beaten by Swansea 3-2.
Yeah.
That was at Anfield.
It was.
Beaten by Southampton.
Well, they've only won one game in 2017.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, Monsieur Graham, if you just listen for a second.
Thank you for calling me Monsieur Graham. Merci beaucoup.
I believe their next game at Anfield is, am I right? Is it Chelsea visiting a week on side?
It is.
So if they lose then...
They're in the FA Cup this weekend. And their next Premier League game is against Chelsea at Anfield.
That's right. And is the Wolves game... That's Liverpool Wolves. Is that
Liverpool Wolves, I believe, is at Wolves, but I will double check that.
I was about to say, what I'm saying is, if the next game at Anfield is Chelsea, and Chelsea in the sparkling form they're in at the moment come to Anfield and beat them, Has there been a time over the last 30 years when Liverpool have lost 3 successive games at Anfield?
Well, I think that would be a very, very good question. But I'm just trying to find out whether Wolves or Liverpool are playing at home.
Yeah, you think somebody would...
You think somebody would find out. They're playing at home.
Yeah. At home.
So they are playing at home.
Oh, I see. So they probably won't lose that one.
In fact, it's a 12:30 kickoff. Well, you say that.
So, yeah, well...
I mean, you never know, do you? I mean, as we found out from Lincoln City in the FA Cup...
You can't believe they would,
when a team is on a roll, they can sometimes roll over teams which are in much higher divisions.
Indeed.
Even though, especially if they're not playing particularly well.
Well, the FA Cup can do funny things to a team.
Yeah.
Really can.
Who have Everton got?
I'm not going to answer that silly question.
Why?
It's a stupid question.
Why is it?
Because you know full well why.
Why?
Because Everton are concentrating on improving their Premier League position.
Oh, yeah,
that's
they got
why.
knocked out, didn't they?
Why do you think
Sorry.
Eddie Jones, the rugby supremo, is walking round with a huge wound on his face?
He's got a black eye, apparently.
Oh, it's more than a black eye, man. He's got a wound on the left side of his face next to his eye.
Yes, I see that. Because it's all over the back pages.
His eye's not covered up with a bandage, but a lot of his face is.
Do you think he's been whacked by somebody?
Well, there's speculation that he might have been whacked by Dylan Hartley, the captain.
Well, if he had been, I don't think we'd have seen Dylan Hartley at the press conference. The one thing you know about Eddie Jones is that, he's already warned Dylan Hartley that if he carries on behaving the way he does on the field, he's liable to miss out on the captaincy. He's going to strip it from him if he keeps getting suspended.
I was hoping that our friends in Fleet Street, who are seekers of truth and justice, might have found the real reason, and it might be all over the back of one of tomorrow morning's newspapers.
Well, there's about 3 different versions of the story, aren't there? One is that he slipped and fell in a bathroom.
Yes.
Which is a bit of an old sort of wives' tale.
Of course,
that's
it
what
is.
Everybody says. Walking into a cupboard is always a good one as well.
Walked into a cupboard. He says it was a shaving injury.
What was he trying to shave? His eyebrows?
I don't know. My mother told me I always have to shave. I went to get the shave and I just slipped. Yeah. So that was.
I mean, it can happen, but it's pretty unusual, I'd have to say.
Eddie Jones was Grand Slam mad on his return to the Six Nations. A slip in the shower rather than an unhappy player that caused the England coach to parade a black eye and assorted cuts and grazes. Yeah, I'm not sure about
that. Yeah,
this
it's very unfortunate. I mean, I was the unfortunate recipient of a black eye back in the dark days when I was not getting on very well with my ex-wife.
Oh, really? What happened?
I had to go to work. Well, I woke up in the middle of the night.
Yes.
I was sleeping in a spare room at the time for obvious reasons.
Yes.
And she was attacking me.
Oh, really? What,
yeah.
In what way?
Well, she was basically leaning over me, punching me repeatedly.
What, while you were asleep?
Yeah.
That must have been very frightening.
It was a bit frightening.
Up, being assaulted.
And I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And she was whacking me repeatedly with her fist.
Yeah.
And so I woke up in the morning. I managed to sort of stop her from doing it.
Yeah.
Woke up in the morning to discover that I had a massive black eye.
Yes.
And I had to go to work. So I went into the Mirror where I was working at the time.
Yeah.
And
in which city was this?
I was living in Wiltshire at the time.
Right, so it was in Cardiff?
No, it was in London.
No,
I had to go into the office in London.
Right.
And I walked in to the office, and it was one of those weeks where we were trying to do a buy-up of a rugby player doing something who was in some trouble, and we were being offered a story for about 10,000 quid.
Yes.
And so I had to go to Piers to ask me if I'd have the money.
Yeah.
And he said, he took one look at me and he said...
what have you been up to?
No, he didn't say that. He just said, I'll tell you what. He said, not only will I not give you the 10 grand for the story, but unless you give me 5 grand, I'm going to put you in the paper.
Right.
And then he asked me which one of various women that I knew had given me a black eye.
Oh, I see. So you admit that you were playing away from home at the time?
No, I said I walked into a cupboard. And he just burst out laughing.
Yeah.
Because he knew it was a lie.
Well, hang on. But he knew you were playing away from home because
it wasn't so much,
he said which one of the number of women. So you clearly were philandering around Fleet Street. Is that right?
No, not true.
Well, how do you explain Piers saying which one of the number of women?
Because I had a certain reputation which sometimes people believed, even if it wasn't true.
Yeah, the morals of an alley cat.
Not necessarily.
Surfacing right away.
Not necessarily. It was just one of those things. But, it was a bit embarrassing to have to walk into an office full of people, as I'm sure it would have been for Eddie Jones, with a massive black eye.
Well,
and you don't necessarily want to always tell the truth in his situation because somebody it might then lead to more digging going on.
I've never had to lie about an injury.
You've never been punched. You've never had a black eye.
No,
that surprises me an awful lot.
No,
because I've often thought about punching you just sitting in a studio with you.
I once had to sort of bend the truth a little bit about a rib injury.
Bend the truth?
Yeah.
All right, what happened?
Because I was bladderated and I fell down the stairs in a tube station. And
which one?
I don't know. I can't even remember being on the tube.
Right.
And,
did you crack your ribs?
I did crack my ribs, yeah. And I had to make up some story about being hit by a door or something, But that was only for image purposes. It wasn't because I was frightened or afraid to reveal the source of my injury.
Well, the problem with cracking your ribs, though, is that there's nothing. That's not visible. I mean, nobody knows you've cracked your ribs, do they?
No, but the thing is, if people make you laugh, it's very obvious that you're in incredible pain.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the problem.
And when I crack my ribs, also from falling down the stairs, funnily enough, in a different situation.
Oh, yes. You pushed down the stairs by any chance?
No, I wasn't. No, it was in Glasgow. No, it was in Glasgow. I slipped on the stairs. We had this very, very tight spiral staircase.
Yeah.
And I was carrying 2 plates, and so I wasn't able to hold on to the banister.
What were the plates of?
I just had dinner. So it was a very unusual house, right?
Sounds very unusual.
Yeah, it was one of those very tall, narrow houses, right?
Yeah.
So there was you walked into the bottom level,
yes,
and there was a sort of living room there,
right?
But then the kitchen was sort of up half a level, of stairs over there. You went up some more stairs, and there was a dining room.
What a weird arrangement!
No, it was beautiful. It was a really nice house. It was an old-fashioned in a place called Garnet Hill.
How did the woman in your life cope carrying food up and downstairs all day long?
Well, we didn't always carry it upstairs, but on this particular occasion we had.
Good God.
And quite often we would eat in the living room, but on this particular occasion we carried it upstairs, and I slipped and fell and cracked my ribs, and they couldn't do anything. They said, "Well, we can't." And it was very, very painful. I have to say, I couldn't drive. Every time I tried to turn right, I was screaming.
Do you know what do you know what they told me to do? And the fact they did it, I had to get a load of cling film and wrap cling film around my chest. No, I did. Like, honestly, about 3 rolls of it. They said it's the only thing that'll hold it in place and stop you from suffering extreme pain.
No, I don't
particularly
think so.
when you sleep.
No, they didn't tell me to do that.
Oh, yeah, they told me. I must have had a better...
Did you lose any weight? Some people wrap themselves in cling film to lose weight.
No, I must have had a better doctor than you, I'm telling you.
Yeah, of course, you must have had.
Yeah.
Since everything you have is better than what everybody else has.
Well, I'm not saying that.
The delusions that you're suffering are getting worse, I'm sorry to say.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you should do is find a better psychiatrist than me and see what he makes of it all. This is Talk Sport.
Nonsense. To be honest, it's a great opportunity.
Shocking.
I mean, the modern Millwall fan...
No, it's not a great opportunity. They're talking about moving to Kent. They don't come from Kent, they come from South London.
Will you just please hear me out? The modern Millwall fan is a sort of middle-ranked, middle-aged executive, wears a suit, all that kind of stuff. A far cry from the hooligan era that Millwall had sadly had to go through.
I mean, lots of clubs had it. West
Millwall
Ham
had it worse than
Chelsea
anybody.
Had the F Troop. I mean, lots of clubs
You never went to Millwall.
You
never went to Millwall and felt safe if you're an away fan. And I've been there a few times, and in those days, because Millwall had a terrible reputation. Now, what they can do now is move out of their scrubby little ground, and
it's not a scrubby little ground. When was the last time you were there?
About 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
It's not a scrubby little ground. It's a lovely ground in the heart of the city, which is where it belongs.
Of course, that's the new den, isn't it?
Yes,
because
it is.
The old one was knocked down many years ago.
Yeah.
So, but I don't. I'm
a big fan of football grounds, and you have said you are as well in the past.
Yeah.
A fan of football grounds which are right in the middle of the town.
I am.
Or the city, or whatever it is. It's surrounded by houses. It's not surrounded by car parks and vacant lots. It's surrounded by houses.
I'm not being critical, but when you pass Millwall's ground, and I do sometimes on a train, it looks like a breeze blocking campus.
I don't agree.
It looks like a prison.
More evidence, I'm afraid, of your antithesis towards Millwall fans and Millwall staying where they are.
Yes, well, look, I don't think we should dwell on that. I think the position's quite clear. I've pledged my support for the Millwall fans with the Lewisham situation. Now,
the Lewisham situation. Tony says, how does Mike Parry think he can get away with so many blatant lies related to the Millwall argument? Hashtag U-turn specialist.
I don't think so. Anyway, let's get to a more important issue. I've got a load of messages here from people saying, I thought you said that once you were on holiday and you got punched in the face, you said you've never had a black eye.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why that is, because that was such a serious assault.
Yes.
It wasn't actually a black eye. I can show you now the marks where the stitches, I had 13 stitches.
I can't see really that. I don't want to get that close to you.
No, if you look at my right eyebrow, just above it, you'll see.
Oh, yes, okay.
Right, you see? Now,
I see a scar there.
That's a scar. Now, there are 18 stitches put in there because the guy who punched me took off his belt, wrapped it round his fist, and his buckle was smashed into my head above my eye.
So you didn't get a black eye, no?
Didn't get
you get a black eye if you get hit sort of either right in it.
Yeah, that's
because the bruising comes around the nose.
Yeah, or around your nose.
Or to the outside left.
But I mean,
right.
it was such a vicious blow, and it was such a critical attack.
And incredibly, you didn't deserve it.
I didn't deserve it.
Most of the time, I would say probably
didn't deserve it at all.
You were provoking someone.
No, I was mistaken for somebody else, some other Englishman with ginger hair who'd been trying to steal this person's girlfriend. And I pleaded not guilty, and he went to jail.
Yeah.
But the point is...
Did you have to go to court then?
No, because it all happened after I'd left and gone home. Right. But I'd given evidence in witness statements and all that kind of stuff. But it was such a brutal attack, it would have knocked anybody else out for 6 weeks. I'm telling you that now. I'm telling
you. Actually, we have to talk about him in a little while. Got a couple more tweets here. How about this one from Alan, who says, if you told Mike Parry you went to Tenerife, he'll claim to have gone to 11erife.
Oh, no.
I think he's worried about your one-upmanship.
No.
We've got a message from Sandra Lee as well, because it's Australia Day today.
Oh, yes.
But we're not talking to Sandra today, we're talking to her tomorrow.
You're right.
And she's saying that she's going to say good day tomorrow.
Yes.
And wishing us all a happy Australia Day. What do you do on Australia Day here?
On Australia Day here? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if we celebrate Australia Day here, what are you going to do?
Well, we're not going to celebrate Australia Day because we're not Australians, of course.
Well, you want to celebrate Burns Night and you're not Scottish.
No, but I think Burns Night is British, and I'm part of the British folklore and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's not really. It's Scottish, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's but Scotland's part of Britain, actually. It was last time I looked, despite the fact that Ms Sturgeon is threatening there's going to be another referendum. Don't
give my friend Nicola a hard time.
No, I'll tell you what, if there was another referendum, it would again be a victory for
Don't jinx it.
No, it would be.
Don't jinx it.
And anyway, I mean, she's in such a weak position now to be able to demand anything from
I think it was
any
a bit
part
of
the political arena.
A bit of a shock to the SNP to discover that the judges came out and said basically there was no need to consult any of the devolved powers on what to do about the Brexit situation.
They actually said, oh, by the way, you don't have to talk to Wales, Scotland or Northern Ireland about it. Don't worry, it's a central government policy.
Exactly right.
I totally agree.
Here's one from Rodders. He says, of all the nonsense Porky has spouted, I've never been punched is the least believable. It's actually true, because you would imagine, being like Porky, that he would have been punched at least once a year for every year of his life.
Yes, but you see, that's because you promote an image of me which is entirely false.
No, it's just that you annoy so many people.
No, I don't annoy people. I'm basically a peacemaker. I am a logistician.
Yeah, no, you're a bit of a coward. Is what happens is when things start to blow up, you retreat.
How dare you say that? How dare you say that?
All right. Well, let me reverse
I'm a logical
the question.
debater.
Well, let me reverse the question. If you've never been given a black eye, have you ever given anyone else one?
No, I've never been involved in physical violence.
You probably haven't ever hit anyone, have you?
Not to my memory, but
really?
Is that something to boast about? I hit people all the time.
Well, no, most people. Well, you see, as usual, there is somewhere between.
Who have you hit?
I've hit a guy who was trying to mug me.
Right.
I've had situations in bars where I've had to hit people.
Yeah, well, fortunately, I've never, got myself into a ruffian-type situation where I've been drunk and incapable in a bar and had to ward somebody off by punching them.
You're drunk and incapable in lots of different places outside of bars.
No.
The bottom line is that, in the world in which we inhabit, and the fact that you've been a journalist for some time, you would have thought. I mean, I've had guns pointed at me. I've had people
I've had people shoot at me.
Yeah, well, you claim that, but you've never been in a fight. How is that possible? If you've been a Fleet Street reporter, you should have been in several fights, not least with some other Fleet Street reporters.
What a ridiculous proposition. That, you haven't been in a fight, you're not a real reporter.
No, I'm saying you haven't been in a fight because you're a coward.
I'm just always clever enough not to...
because you always back away from physical violence.
Utter rubbish.
You've never been in a fight.
Never been so irresponsible enough as to get myself into a fight. Well, you just said most of your fights took place in bars.
That's not true.
That does not surprise me.
No, I said I got into a punching situation with a mugger. That was not in a bar. It was on the street of New York.
I don't get mugged, mate. I'm too clever.
Well, you're too clever.
I didn't give out signs. Well, muggers pick on people who are inebriated, staggering around.
So how come you've never been mugged? Maybe you just didn't notice.
No, not at all.
You're always staggering around. I mean, how many times every weekend do we get tweets from people saying, I've just spotted Porky staggering about Portsmouth?
Well, most of them are falsehoods, as you well know, because I'm not usually even in the same town.
Really?
But, I mean, what a ridiculous rant and raving, honestly. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I'm not ashamed of myself at all. The difference between you and I is I tell the truth and you don't. Well, everybody knows that.
I tell you what's interesting, because you mentioned Wales, right?
Yes.
Now, I won't believe this, but this missile that went the wrong way. The Trident missile.
The one that we don't talk about.
The one that we don't talk about.
Because of national security.
National security. And Mrs. May says, well, I can't talk about it and all that.
Yeah.
Now, I spoke to some of my naval intelligence guys about this today.
Did you?
Right, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't know too much about this one because it is top secret, but they did remind me.
Well, they're not very good naval intelligence types, then, are they?
Well, they can't really talk about it, but they did remind me because they have like memories like elephants. You know what I mean? In 1958, I can't believe this. There was another accident when a Royal Navy submarine was testing missiles, like somewhere in the Atlantic.
Right.
And they had an accident with a missile, and this is no joke. It went the wrong way, and it was heading for Cardiff, and it was going to wipe out Wales.
Well, was it armed, though? Presumably it wasn't armed.
Well, I'm not sure, but it's It was the last great incident, and it was the former First Sea Lord, Admiral Lord West.
Oh, yes. Remember him.
Told the Defence Select Committee, thoroughly embarrassing the firing failure off the US coast, but added, years ago, we had an aircraft missile called the Sea Slug, and we fired by mistake into Wales.
God. So presumably they weren't that far off the coast of Ireland.
Well, exactly, but apparently it could have caused devastation if it hadn't been exploded in midair, you know what I mean? Fortunately, even in those days,
so they had to make it self-destruct.
They had to make it self-destruct. Had it landed in Wales, apparently it could have wiped out quite a good part of Wales.
Yes.
It was the most powerful missile the Royal Navy had at the time, apart from nuclear missiles, and would have caused a tremendous mess.
Well, you do worry about the people sometimes who are in charge of these vessels. Remember the guy that drove the submarine into the side of the loch? This was a few years back.
Yes.
Because he somehow managed to get the steering situation
and that was
wrong.
$1 billion submarine.
Yeah. But it was a nuclear-powered submarine.
Yeah, it was a £1 billion submarine, that's right.
And he ran it aground or crashed it into the side.
Amazing.
It's shocking.
This missile nearly wiped out Wales. You won't believe it. It got to a height of 17,000 feet on its way to Wales. Yeah. Almost so high that it was beyond.
He didn't hit a plane.
Sorry?
It's like he didn't hit a plane.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I know they don't fly at 17,000 feet, but I mean, you know.
It was so high that they almost lost touch with it. They were very lucky to be able to self-destruct it because it was moving so fast and so high, even in 1958. You've got to be careful with these missiles, I'm telling you.
Well, they are not to be messed about with, really.
Yes.
And you do worry that there's probably been more incidents than we know about.
Yeah, I would imagine
but,
so.
you know, as you've said before, we haven't got that many of them anymore.
No.
So, you know, I guess the testing of them is quite a good idea.
Absolutely. Now then, remember you mocked me about a week ago when I said
I mock
to
you every night.
Well, you try to, but you don't get away with it.
Well, I do.
And I came in and I said, you know, I'd had a shower that evening, as I do every evening. And for some unknown reason, you want to know about my shampoo. And I said I bought it for £1.
Only because
in Sainsbury's.
Well, you were boasting about it the previous week.
Yeah.
See, the trouble is, I remember things that you don't remember. What you said to me was that you use very expensive shampoo.
Yes.
And then you revealed that it was Palmolive.
Yes.
Which, of course, is not very expensive shampoo. So that was why I asked
No, that one cost £1 from Sainsbury's. Yeah.
Well, but the previous time we'd spoken about it, you said you use very expensive shampoo.
Well, I do sometimes use a £40 shampoo, but on that particular night I didn't.
£40?
Yes.
Made by who?
That lot that you lost the stuff on the train.
What?
You lost a load of stuff on the train.
Yeah. I lost one bottle of Molten Brown.
Molten Brown, that's
Molten
it,
Brown doesn't cost £40.
Well, this bottle of shampoo did.
Well, it's not Molten Brown. Molten Brown costs £18 a bottle.
Can I just tell you this? An experiment on 3 shampoos, this is a scientific experiment, right?
Yeah.
Priced at £1, £6 and £40, found that those who used a more expensive product had no cleaner hair than those who used a budget one. It's because shampoos, no matter what price, contain almost exactly the similar ingredients. They're known as surfactants, and they strip dirt from hair.
What are they called?
Surfactants.
Surfactants?
Yes, surfactants.
Are you sure that's the right pronunciation?
Yeah, surfactants.
Not surfactants.
Surfactants, that's what they are. They're surfactants, and they strip dirt from hair. Instead, higher price tags often come, from adding thickening agents, because people associate a thicker liquid with a higher quality. It means customers are simply paying extra for a more exotic fragrance or conditioning agent.
That's often the case,
which can leave hair softer and easier to style.
Yeah, that's often the case as well.
See? So there's no difference.
I mean, if I had hair like yours, I wouldn't bother washing it at all.
So there's no difference.
I'd just run a cloth over
between £1 and £40, and all this came from a top-level investigation.
Is that right?
From the University of Huddersfield.
Oh, really? It's one of my favourite universities, that.
Really?
University of Huddersfield.
Really?
Yeah, I've often quoted things from their studies.
You're taking a mickey again.
I'm afraid so. But what I will tell you
Haircare Secrets was the name of the report.
Haircare Secrets?
Yeah.
Great. Was it sponsored by any haircare manufacturers?
No, it wasn't, no.
Are you sure?
Certain.
Okay.
It's an independent report from the University of Huddersfield.
Well, let's revisit some of those
Huddersfield's a good place.
Yeah,
Frank Worthington used to play for them.
Did he?
Yeah, he used to roll his shorts up.
Blue and white stripes. Yeah, I've never been there,
right.
I don't think. I knew a guy at university was from Huddersfield.
Really?
I couldn't understand him. Yeah. This is Talk Sport.
Okay.
Into the sea, you and me, all the years and no one heard. I'll show you in spring, it's a treacherous thing. We miss you. Yes, love pass. We miss
You like that song?
Well, Well, it's quite jolly, but I mean,
good,
it's not very musical, is it?
You don't think it? You don't like it?
Who is it? Or what is
Cure.
Cure?
The Cure.
The Cure,
Yeah.
okay. What are they?
They're an English band.
Yeah, but I mean, from what generation?
They were very successful, I would say, in the kind of late 70s, early
Oh,
80s.
really?
I saw them in a very
rate them.
small club in Bath, actually, many years ago.
Them, mate.
They're very good. Robert Smith.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah,
very good
I'm
songs.
sure. Yeah,
got a great one here from Matt, who says, Porky uses a shampoo with a thickening agent. That goes a long way to explaining the Porky quiz.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's very good, that,
Oh,
Matt.
I'm gripping my sides here.
Tweet of the night so far. Anyway, let's talk to Marilyn Krieger, who's going to tell us
Yes.
all about cats and
Excellent.
why a new study from Japan has actually said that cats are indeed, at the very least, as intelligent as dogs. Marilyn, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me on. I love talking cats on a sports station.
Oh, good.
Well, that's great.
Well, we
Thank
don't
you very
just talk
much
about
indeed.
sport. We talk about life in general.
Yes.
The world, the universe, everything. So, all human life and animal life is here.
Yeah.
You will find, however, that my broadcasting partner, Mr. Parry, is not as enamoured with cats as I am. So beware.
Well-
he may say some insulting things.
No, I'm not going to say anything insulting, Marilyn. The point is, I regard cats as actually very cunning, somewhat deceitful.
My, that's certainly not true at all. That is a myth.
Well, hang on, and rather deceitful
said that.
and this sort of thing. So what I'm saying is, Marilyn, this report doesn't surprise me at all. I've always regarded cats as more intelligent than dogs. Dogs are playful, and dogs can be rather, sort of stupid almost in the things they do. I think cats are very premeditated in every aspect of their behaviour.
Well, I'm not going to say they're let's put it this way. You have two different species. Cats are not dogs. Dogs are more social with people. I mean, cats they've evolved the way they've evolved.
Yeah.
They've evolved a certain way of learning. And I mean, let me put it this way. They learn to survive and evolve to live in their environment, certainly differently than dogs do.
They're less reliant on humans, aren't they, cats?
Well, they are reliant on humans. So, of course, you have feral cats, but you also have dogs that are not as reliant or are wild as well. But cats certainly can learn they do hunt, as dogs can too.
Yeah.
Also here, but the thing is, if you're talking about social behavior, the difference is that a cat is a solitary hunter, whereas a dog is not.
Yes.
So,
I mean, most domestic dogs will not go out and bring you back a rabbit, for example. Whereas if you've got a cat, quite often
bring back a bird.
The cat will bring a bird or a squirrel or something back to you,
Or
as
a
kind of
mouse.
as a kind of a tribute. So what I'm saying, I suppose, is that their animal
cats are killers.
Their animal instincts are closer to being still there as domestic animals.
yes, some of them. Yes, certainly.
You got any cats, Marilyn?
Definitely, they don't need. Let's put it this way: the way cats have evolved to hunt, they are solitary hunters. So what that means is they don't necessarily need each other, though they are social. They definitely are social. And yes, they often can and do go out hunting, and they bring their prey back.
Well, that makes them very intelligent, doesn't it, Marilyn? I mean, the reason we have cat flaps is because we know that cats go out in the middle of the night. That's why we talk about, a night on the tiles, cats and this sort of stuff. And if cats go out on the prowl, and they do, and they go out to kill, because you hear these terrible screeching noises at night in your streets.
That's usually foxes. Though.
Well, it could be a fox and a cat having a fight, or
it's foxes mating.
or it could be a bird being massacred by a cat. What I'm saying is
a bird being massacred.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So
I told you, Mike.
what I'm saying is, dogs don't go out on the prowl at night because dogs aren't really that bright.
Too busy sleeping.
To be able to look after themselves, whereas cats do. I mean, cats are
They're
very
nocturnal, aren't they?
What?
Aren't they nocturnal?
What?
Cats.
Well, they're crepuscular. What it means is that they mostly they'll hunt they'll hunt in the mornings, early mornings, and then in the evenings.
Right.
That's when their prey is the most active.
Yeah.
So that's when they generally will hunt.
Right. What was the word you used there for that?
Crepuscular, crepuscular.
Crepuscular? I've never heard that.
No,
Crepuscular. Look it up.
Oh, there you go.
It's very good.
No, I'm not suggesting it doesn't exist. I'm saying that you're educating us here. So
you are describing an animal which is not a very pleasant animal. They go hunting their prey.
Well, you're not
they
a very
go
pleasant
early
man.
in the morning. They go in the evening. I mean, this
not
is
necessarily, and that's why. But I know you do things different in the UK than where we are. But I recommend that cats are kept in, that they're not allowed outside. You can have
That's
as
a good
much
idea.
fun. Yeah, and you can make the environment inside as much.
Well, I had
fun
a cat.
as
I had a cat when I lived in New York City, right, and it never went out at all. And when we finally moved to an apartment that actually had some outside space, and she walked into the garden, and it was the funniest thing you've ever seen because she'd never stepped on earth in her life, and she was very, very kind of. Worried about it and very
sounds
hesitant.
Cruel, that.
Why was it cruel? No,
It's
you
like
can
keeping a cat indoors, in
there
like
are loads of
captivity.
There are loads of indoor
not cruel
cats.
at all. You have to make sure there's plenty of stuff for the cat to use so the cat doesn't become bored.
Yeah, exactly.
But that way, you don't have to worry about the cats fighting with other cats.
No, right.
Or anything
Exactly.
else. So
And this study is interesting, this Japanese study, because it's not
it's
just
fascinating.
it's not just talked about how intelligent cats are. It's also said that they've got memories, that they recall things from which are pleasant experiences, that they are able to remember what and where things are. They have episodic
of course
memory.
they do.
I mean, is this come as news to you, or did you know this all along?
No, not at all. In fact, all animals probably can. I'm sure most animals can do that. Because how else are they going to know where they're safe or where the best hunting places are? They have to have a memory. It's not episodic memory is not. It's not really a surprise.
Well, Porky doesn't know it. You haven't got much episodic memory, have you? You can't remember what you said.
Well,
yesterday.
we're not talking about me. We're talking about cats.
Okay.
I mean, the point is, Marilyn, do you believe a cat has as much of a bonding instinct with its human owner as a dog does? Because
Certainly.
Sorry.
Sure.
You sure?
Yes.
But I mean, when a dog falls in love with its owner and it loves its owner, it will stand over its dead body for days on end. Whereas a cat wouldn't do that. A cat would be off to find somebody else to give it food.
Well, not necessarily. My cats are very bonded to me. And they do. They become very bonded to people. They become very bonded to the place where they are, too. Cats are very territorial as well. Mm-hmm. But certainly they do know their owners. In fact, the same woman that conducted this study also conducted a study that I've been looking for quite a while that has to do with cats recognizing, as dogs do too, of course, but recognize their owners' expressions on their faces.
Yeah. What about your view on sort of cat people and dog people? Because in this country, you can generally kind of delineate between the two types of humans. One set likes dogs, one set likes cats. It's very rare for somebody to like both. I actually like both.
Well, I have a lot of that here. You have people that enjoy both cats and dogs.
Yeah, but is there a kind of personality trait, is what I suppose I'm asking you, for people who like dogs more than cats?
Well, there have been a lot of studies on that here in the United States. There has been quite a few studies on that very issue. Yeah. And I think what you'd need to do is look them up because they rate intelligence, they rate, social...
The thing is, Marilyn, some people would say that people who own dogs are nicer people than people who own cats. Now, I'm not including you in that number, of course.
That's not a very nice thing to say.
No. Because the amount of devotion and time you have to give to a dog is a lot more than you have to give to a cat. Therefore, is a dog owner a more giving person?
No, not necessarily.
Well, what do you mean, not necessarily?
Well, there's your answer.
Well, that's the thing. You're believing some myths here. Cats take a lot of care. They can be trained.
Yeah.
They are very affectionate, and some of them will follow their people around from room to room, just like dogs will do. And, now the thing is, cats should not be left alone for hours and hours and hours at end or left alone for a weekend. They need somebody to come in and look after them. They need attention. They need to be played with. They need stimulation.
Well, that's everything a dog needs. A dog loves human beings.
But cats can do without it because cats cats will not want it from everyone, whereas a dog, in my experience, if you, say for example, sent somebody to your house to go and feed the dog, they would be absolutely all over that person because they would see that the person was going to feed
maybe
them.
not. If they're a guard dog, they wouldn't be.
Well, I mean, generally speaking, I'm talking about nice dogs rather than horrible dogs, right? And whereas, I mean, when I had my cat in New York, somebody, I was away for a while, and somebody came to stay in my place for a week.
And the cat didn't like it?
Well, he never saw the cat. He said when he left me a little note. When I told him to put food out. The food kept disappearing. But he said, P.S., are you sure you have a cat? Because he never saw the cat in 5 days.
Well, some cats are that way, and that has to do with their history and if they've been exposed to a lot of different people.
Marilyn, do cats have the homing instinct that dogs have? Sometimes you read about dogs which inadvertently get on a train and then get off like 20 miles away, and they can find their way back through this sort of homing instinct in their head. Are cats like that?
Oh, absolutely, no question about it. Though it's not a good idea. In fact, there's quite a few. There's been quite a few little articles about cats that will get on a train and ride the train and then come back and things like that. So, cats are they're pretty good at finding their way back.
And they pretty much know what they're doing, do they? When they get on the trains, the subway trains.
Yeah,
or something
what they
like
do
that.
is they buy a second-class ticket and then go into first class and hope that nobody finds out.
Yeah, what a stupid comment, honestly. I don't know.
They're very cunning.
See what I'm dealing with here, Marilyn? You know, a complete idiot.
Yeah, thank you very much. He has no respect, Marilyn. He has no respect for cats, dogs, women, men, humans.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
Generally speaking, he's an odious character. You've done very well not to be riled by him.
Not at all. Marilyn, I want to thank you for your vast knowledge of cats. However, I still am of the view that a Labrador dog is a more friendly animal than a hissing and spitting cat.
Well, you know what? I can prove that it's not necessarily true.
Okay, well, I'm sure you can. You're an expert, and I'm very grateful for your time.
Train them. I train my cats. My cats are all trained, and they come and they roll over and they shake hands and they fetch.
Right. Well, mate, do you know what? You don't see many cats like that.
No.
You don't see many cats who are that approachable.
If Mr. Parry ever comes to visit you, Marilyn, if I were you, I'd train them to attack him. Just because that would be more fun to watch.
That's
thank you very
harsh.
much indeed.
Yes.
Marilyn Krieger, cat behaviour expert, telling us some very interesting things about
Well, she was telling some very interesting things. But have you ever seen a cat that raised its paw and said, shake hands with me like a dog does?
Yeah, I have.
No, rubbish.
Yeah, my cat used to do that.
Well, your dog does it, because I've seen your dog do it, and I've shaken hands with your dog.
Yeah, well, you never met my cat in New York, did you?
Well, you never shake hands with a cat. I've never seen that. That doesn't exist.
Yeah, you can.
Rubbish.
Yeah, a cat used to get stoned on catnip as well. It's quite funny. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will, of course, be a Porky quiz coming up on the show tomorrow. We are amongst our guests. We'll be talking to Sandra Lee from Australia. It is Australia Day, so very happy Australia Day if you're listening down under. Porky could end up with his first black eye if he meets that Catwoman Marilyn in person, says G. O'Hara.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about that.
And Anders says, Porky's opinion of cats is only the opinion of someone who's never had a cat. They are cautious of strangers.
Well, they definitely are. By the way, I'm going to say happy birthday to, somebody that... in whose circles we move.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Brendan Rodgers.
Brendan Rodgers' birthday?
Brendan Rodgers, the Celtic manager, is 44 today.
Is he today, Thursday?
Yes, today, Thursday.
Many happy returns, Brendan.
Now, I thought he was a little bit off beam yesterday.
Did you?
I'm going to play to you.
They had a good result last night, didn't they?
Well, of course they had a good result, and I think they've gone 26 games now without being beaten.
Yeah.
This is the very point,
First time that's happened in a while.
In a long time. Let's hear what he had to say about it.
Okay.
He's about to say.
Well, we are about to get it.
He's about to get it.
No, there's some kind of crashing scenario going on.
Yeah, right. Now, we're going to play that in a second, right? Now, the point I'm going to make is this. The last team to go 26 games without being beaten, last Celtic team, were the team that won the European Cup in 1967, the Lisbon Lions. Absolutely right. Now, the point is, where Lisbon Lions not only, conquered Europe, they also, on a weekly...
These are 26 domestic games, they've won.
26 games, actually. 26 games.
Not domestic games.
It's 26 domestic games. Absolutely right. Yeah. Now, we're going to hear it in a second, but the point I'm going to make is this, that this is the team... I
think we've got it now, by the way.
Yeah, this is the team of Brendan Rodgers today, being compared to the Lisbon Lions. Listen to what he said.
Okay.
To be talked in even the same breath as those guys that really created the legend of this club would obviously be a huge privilege.
No, you see,
he's great at this, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because he's saying to be talked about. Now, the only person who's talking about it is him.
Yeah, exactly.
Who else is talking about it?
I mean, this is what I don't get. With his lilting Northern Ireland accent, to be compared to those Lisbon lines.
Yeah, but who's comparing them?
Would be a huge privilege. Yeah. Well, this is the very point I'm making.
He's like you, actually, isn't he?
I think he should have gone completely the other way.
Yeah.
I think he should have said, there is no way that you can compare the Lisbon Lions
but that's not the way he is.
With the team that I have today.
Yes.
Because the Lisbon Lions, for instance, conquered Europe. And the Lisbon Lions had a Rangers team breathing down their neck.
Who were very good.
Twice a season. Who were almost equally as good, and who themselves became European winners because they won the European Cup in this Cup, right?
Yeah, they did. And also the entire Scottish First Division, as it was in those days, was an awful lot better than it is currently.
I mean, they used to supply about 1/3 of the players to the English First Division. You're absolutely right. So, and like, for instance...
Yeah, but this is what I mean. This is typical Brendan Rodgers.
Like, for instance...
Rather than walking away from bigging himself up, he's bigging himself up.
Yeah, a decade later, Sir Alex Ferguson managed to make Aberdeen better than Celtic and Rangers combined.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was real competition there. So I do think it's...
Dundee were pretty good at one
stage
Dundee
as well. Dundee and Dundee United,
Hearts,
so what I'm
Hibs.
saying is, I just think, and listen, I'd be interested to hear from Celtic fans if you've got a view about this. I think to try in any way compare the Celtic team of today going 26 games domestically without being beaten, right? Yeah. To the Celtic team that won the European Cup, where every member of that team, by the way, were born within 25 miles of Celtic Park.
Yes.
I mean, it was such a legendary event and all that.
Yeah, I remember listening to it on the radio.
It's frankly ridiculous.
Well, of course it is.
And I just don't know.
But do you not get the sense that Brendan Rodgers is constantly trying to justify himself, justify the fact that he's working in a league which has got absolutely no kind of competitive nature at all, and justify the fact that he's not somehow in the limelight by constantly throwing himself into it?
It's unbelievable to be compared to the team that created the legend of this club.
I mean, it's the kind of thing Donald Trump. It's like the sort of thing Donald Trump would come out with to say, say that I'm being compared with JFK
would be
already after just 1 week. It's amazing.
Would be a huge privilege.
But nobody's doing it.
But I think the Celtic fans will get riled about that because you simply can't compare in any way, form or fashion.
Yeah, but I think they're quite happy with Brendan Rodgers, you see, so I don't think
they're quite happy because they have there's absolutely no competition whatsoever.
No.
I've even heard that the Scottish Football Association or Scottish Premier League are thinking of trying to bring in a bit of a winter break type thing to make sure that Celtic don't win the Premier League Championship before Valentine's Day.
Which is a ridiculous reason to have one.
Yeah. But I mean, what I'm saying is, the standard of football in Scotland today is so poor compared to what it was in 1967. And even then...
Well, I mean, also, you have to think about the national squad scenario.
Of course.
Scotland's national team back then was in 1967. They beat England, didn't they, after the year they won the World Cup?
Exactly.
It's a shocking state
But, I mean,
affairs.
you see, this is typical of Brendan Rodgers. I think I told you that just before... In fact, you were with me before Christmas. We went to and had a few drinks with a few friends in our business, didn't we?
Hey?
In Langens, remember?
Oh, yes.
And there were a few people there associated with Liverpool, and they made the point that the day after Brendan Rodgers arrived at Liverpool Football Club, he automatically assumed that he'd fused into the legend and the folklore.
And it's the way he talks about it.
Yeah, the legend and the folklore of Liverpool Football Club going back 4 or 5 decades.
They weren't very happy about it.
No, they weren't. It quite riled people, when he used to sit in those programs and say, when you're talking about Liverpool Football Club, we're one of the biggest
family
football clubs in the world, and the standards that we demand are people. And
shortly before he popped off with the travel woman, wasn't it?
Yeah, the woman who's in charge of the ticket office, I think, wasn't it?
Oh,
travel office, that's right, something like that, yeah. And then, of course, wasn't long after that before he was, seeking employment elsewhere and all this kind of stuff.
Indeed.
But
not that the two events were related.
I don't think he does himself any favours talking like that. No. That's all I'm saying.
No, I don't think he does. Freddie says this. Did you bring any haggis in for the fat man to soak his Chateau Neuf du Cac up with? Well, sadly, I've got some bad news for you.
Well, I mean...
I went to get a haggis.
This is revealing.
I was planning to get a haggis today. I went to Borough Market where I was going to
Bearing in mind, of course, you claim to be a Scotsman.
Well, I don't claim to be a Scotsman.
Yes, you do.
I say that I have Scottish parents, so therefore that makes me Scottish.
Yeah, okay. So you're
claim
Scottish
to be a Scotsman.
Right, so you're Scottish.
I'm Scottish.
You're Scottish,
yeah,
right. So you're Scottish, and it's Burns night tonight.
That's right.
And so you decide to go on a mission, right, It's not a terribly difficult mission to
Not
go
particularly.
to go and out and buy a particular piece of produce, right?
I was going to buy haggis from the Ginger Pig, yes.
And what happened?
I went to the Ginger Pig and they'd sold them all.
And what is the Ginger Pig?
The Ginger Pig is a butcher's shop in Borough Market.
Okay.
Which you know very well because when I stand outside the pub with you in Borough Market, I always point to it and say, that's the butcher's I use. It's called the Ginger Pig.
Right.
But of course your mind is so addled with alcohol that you can't remember it.
And where did you try after the Ginger Pig?
I didn't try anywhere else. I looked around the rest of Borough Market.
Oh, what a dedicated Scotsman you are, eh?
What do you think?
What
I'm some
a
kind of,
dedicated
what do you think I'm some kind
Scotsman?
of cartoon Scotsman?
No.
That I walk around going, oh, whoops, man, whoops, man. I'll get some whiskey and some haggis.
Let the wind blow, hey, let the wind blow.
You see,
low.
everything to you is a caricature.
I got no haggis. What shall I do?
I probably could have gone to a big supermarket because most of them sell it.
Yeah.
But I wanted a particular one, and unfortunately, they said we'll have some more tomorrow. I said, well, I don't want one tomorrow.
Okay.
I wanted it today. They said, well, we only have 20. Why is it pathetic?
Pathetic. Because if it was an Irishman who said it's St Patrick's Day and I'm going to drink 6 pints of Guinness, he would go somewhere where the Guinness was available and he would drink it.
Well, there's
right?
quite a lot of Guinness around. I think you find.
But you, as a Scotsman, claim that your Scottish ancestry means so much to you.
No, I didn't say that.
And
at
in
all.
the
Well, I don't know where you get any of this
and in
from.
the memory
Talking
of your
absolute
father,
Veloxios.
in the memory of your dead father, who
no,
truly
didn't
was
do
a Scotsman,
He was.
You couldn't be bothered to walk further than Borough Market to get a haggis because your favourite butcher called the Ginger Pig, but that's some sort of a butcher, isn't it?
It's a great butcher.
Didn't have a haggis, so you couldn't go anywhere else. So you didn't actually celebrate Burns Night with haggis at home then?
No, instead I made a 4-cheese pasta dish, which was
pasta.
delightful. What did you have for dinner?
What were you celebrating?
What did you have for dinner?
What were you celebrating? Italian Day?
No, I wasn't celebrating anything. I don't particularly celebrate Burns Night.
You know,
why are you being so objectionable? You're going to get a smack in the mouth in a minute. If you carry on, I'll celebrate Burns Night by beating you to a pulp. How about that? That's how I'll do it.
Always the threat of resorting to violence.
Yeah, because
you've been caught
punched.
out again.
I haven't been caught out. I just told you I didn't get a haggis. How is that a problem?
You're ludicrous.
How is that a problem for you?
Posering.
How is that a problem for you?
Posering this time as a Scotsman.
Have you ever heard of a bloke called Anton Donker, by the way?
Anton Donker?
Yeah.
No?
Well, you should have done. He's just signed for Everton.
Has he?
This is Talk Sport.
That's great.
Talk Sport, we are the two mics. Coming up very shortly, we are going to be visited by Rachel Murphy Rutland, the co-founder of Gaston Wines, who's going to bring in their Postage Wine Club wine, and they're going to show us how it's put into bottles and what shape the bottles are. I'm quite intrigued, actually, to see how the bottles look, because not only must they be very flat, because they've got to then be packaged so they can still get through a letterbox.
That's right.
So we shall see
Absolutely
how that all goes. Actually, speaking of letterboxes, I had a very strange occurrence this week. I was having a little nap at about 11:30 yesterday morning. I forgot to tell you this on the show.
Okay.
And suddenly someone was rapping at the door, like really hard, like knock.
Yeah.
They told about some bailiffs, right?
Bailiffs?
Looking for somebody.
Oh, no, you haven't got a bailiffs after,
No, I haven't. No, this is looking for somebody.
Forgetting to pay the payments on the new car.
Amazingly, they weren't looking for me.
They had the car back.
No, they were looking for somebody else, right? Yeah. But they were incredibly rude. You know, I mean, I know bailiffs generally are not supposed to be very nice people.
That's right.
But you know, they started banging on the door, and I was asleep, right? So I staggered to the front to the door and sort of had a look through the spy hole.
Yes.
And I said, what is it? What is it? And they asked for this guy by name. I said,
Imagine if you'd have opened the door and they'd just seen you in nothing but your underpants. Oh my God!
I wasn't in my underpants. I was wearing a dressing gown. Actually.
Oh yeah, sure.
A white toweling dressing gown.
Well, even that's pretty revolting. Anyway, go on.
I mean, everybody's seen how revolting you look when you took that ridiculous picture with your reflection in it. So I don't think you should go there.
Excuse me, just
or
go
else
on.
I'll have to slap you around some more. Now, so the guy was like, "Who are you?" And I said,
Who are you?
Who are you? And it wasn't Ian Holloway.
No.
Who are you? I said, never mind who I am. I said, I'm not the guy you're looking for, right? So he said, well, you'll have to open the door and show some ID to prove that you're not this guy.
Yeah.
And I said, well, why should I do that?
Exactly.
I said, why don't you
Forget it.
show me some ID? So he holds up some dodgy-looking ID up to the sort of bit where I'm looking through. I said, well, I can't even read that. And he said, well, maybe you should open the door. I said, well, maybe you should bugger off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, good idea.
Or words to that effect. And so I just went back into my living room, and they kept knocking on the door.
Yeah.
You know, like as if to say we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And eventually I just went back to the front. I said, look, if you don't stop bothering me, I'm going to call the police.
Yeah, good
well,
idea.
go ahead and call the police then, they said, very, bravado-like.
Yeah.
I said, well, if you want me to call the police, I happen to know my rights. I'm not the guy you're looking for, so please
Have they
leave.
given you the name of the guy they're looking for?
They'd asked for him,
And
yeah.
is this man known to you?
Yeah, no. I'd said, look, this guy used to live here. He doesn't live here anymore.
Right.
You know, he was a previous guy that lived there.
Yeah, well, that's a few years back, isn't it?
No, many years. I've lived there for about 9 years.
Yeah.
So I said, look, you know, you're barking up the wrong tree. Just get
right.
lost.
Yeah, don't bark up
and
my
of course,
tree.
eventually they were like,
Woof, woof.
eventually they left and they were like, we'll be back.
We'll be back.
I was like, you know, please, just get lost. You know.
Talking about that.
Incredible. I mean, if you were somebody who was sort of less, shall we say, argumentative than me, and somebody who's older, you'd be really worried.
Of course you would. Because that's what they do. They want to instill fear in you.
Yeah.
That not only are they, going to ruin you financially, but they are a menacing physical presence and all that kind of stuff. And they need pulling into line. Mind you, whenever we talk about bailiffs and like that, I can never forget the story about our mate Dermot in America.
Down in near Princeton. But in fact, it was better than that because his house was on the Roebling estate.
That's right. Yeah.
Who were the family that built the Brooklyn Bridge?
That's right. Yeah.
It was a beautiful house.
Beautiful house, and it was on a great estate and all that kind of stuff. And of course, he really fancied himself as a gentleman abroad, didn't he, in America and all that. And he wrote a column for the Daily Mail. And he was constantly in financial problems. I don't know why, but
Well, I'll tell you why. Because his wife thought that she was married to a millionaire.
That's right.
And she wasn't. I mean, she used to. I mean, talking about wallpaper, right? She used to buy the most expensive wallpaper for when they were doing the place up.
Yeah.
That was instead of your average kind of $10 a roll.
Yes.
Like $35 a roll.
Yeah, that's right.
And she'd be buying hundreds of rolls of it.
Oh, she'd go off to Bloomingdale's and come out with so much luggage.
And she didn't work.
No, she didn't work, and you have to get her. She's a very attractive lady, actually.
She was very nice,
and she'd have to get a separate car to take all her shopping out and all that.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I constantly used to see Dermot, and he was in his cups, and he was short of money. He was always short of money.
He was
always looking
perpetually.
Looking for. And
but his brother was very wealthy. His brother, actually, without giving away too many names, ran very, very high. He had a very highly paid job running one of the world's biggest global companies.
Who? Dermot's brother?
Yes.
Where? In this country or in America?
I don't want to give it away, but it was in Europe, yeah.
It was in Europe, yeah okay, yeah. So anyway...
They used to bail him out on a regular basis.
Bail him out. So anyway, the point of this story is, we're all up there. I wasn't there, actually. You were there, were you?
No, this was just a friend of ours who was visiting.
A friend who was visiting.
I'd been to his house a few times.
Oh, that's right, yeah. And of course, they had this great celebration all day Saturday. It was in the summer and all that, and had a barbecue. And they all got up the next morning, everything was great. And Dermot was going out to get the milk and the papers.
Because it was kind of in the country.
It was, yeah.
It was near Trenton, New Jersey.
That's right, yeah, it was, yeah. And of course he goes out and he comes back in a couple of minutes.
No, but he took her, the woman who's told us the story.
Yes,
she was up waiting for breakfast.
That's
so
right.
He said, "Why don't you come with me? I'll show you around the local town." So she went outside the front door with him.
That's right. And so about 2 minutes later, he comes back in and he says, it was his wife Jane.
That's right.
Jane, darling, where did you leave the car? Because it's quite a big house. There was like a courtyard and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And she went out until I parked it here, and in fact, it had been repossessed overnight.
It had been repossessed in the middle of the night.
He'd forgotten to pay. Yeah. Well, he hadn't forgotten. He'd just been unable to pay the monthly payments on it.
Yes.
So it's a little bit embarrassing that when you've got a house full of guests who've been enjoying your hospitality over the weekend.
But as ever, I mean, he always dealt with things with great charm.
Yeah.
And he just kind of shrugged his shoulders and went back into the house. And I don't know what he did about getting breakfast in the papers.
No idea, because they didn't have a second car, did they?
No, but I think they somehow managed to figure it all out.
Yeah, they cobbled something together. They always do. But no, that's the bailiffs and people like that. Debt and all that terrifies me. I can't bear it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is, in the end, you have to stand up to some of these people, because a lot of the times it's something from so long ago.
Yes.
That somebody has then gone to a court to get a court order against you.
Yeah.
And yet, because they only have your old address, you never find out that they've gone to the court in the first place.
Well,
so you never have an opportunity to defend it.
Well,
and they get this court order, and they send these ghastly characters around.
Yeah.
And you have no idea that it's a stain on your credit and everything.
But it's quite desperate, because you can apply to buy things on credit and you get turned down all the time. And because everybody has now a credit rating, there's credit rating agencies all over the place. The problem is...
It's all about the score, isn't it?
It's all about the score and all that. But the other problem is, which you've got to be aware of, is that if you live in rented property, it doesn't matter that you've never been in debt. If the person who lived at your address, 2 years before you, has a county court judgment against them, that address is blighted. And if you put that address on an application form, it will be found out, and you will be assumed to be the person carrying the debt.
Well, I think there's a way around that. I mean,
it's a very complicated way.
I mean, I had that problem when I tried to buy a house in Wiltshire the first time because I'd been living in a place in London, which I'd moved from. And when we applied for the mortgage, suddenly I got a call from the mortgage broker or the bank or whatever, and they said, "Have you got any county court judgments against you?" And I said, "Well, no. Not that I'm aware of."
No, you have to
and
be
it
very
turned
careful.
out that we did have one, but it was brought by Thames Water in some county court in Northampton.
I know, it's terrible.
And despite the fact that we told Thames Water we were moving from one house to another, despite the fact that they transferred the balance and the bill to the new property, they'd continually sent a bill to the old property, which nobody was living in.
Right.
And because nobody was paying the bill, they blamed us and got a county court judgment without telling us, which I then had to get removed. But again, it was one of those calls you had to make as a kind of newspaper person.
Exactly.
To the PR people at Thames Water. And I said, if you people don't remove this, I'm going to lose this house. You better do it today. You better do it now. But if I hadn't been able to do that, probably would have lost the house.
That's interesting, that,
Shocking,
about having to contact PR people, because sometimes it's what you have to do. Now, when I went to Palace with you...
Yes.
Was it with you?
It was with me.
Yes, it was you.
On
That's
Saturday,
right. On Saturday.
Yeah, we did a show from there, remember?
Right, now, sorry, it was the previous week. Remember, I went to Everton and we played Manchester City,
That's right? Yeah, that was at Goodison.
Goodison.
That was on Sunday, wasn't it?
That was on the Sunday. Now, Everton have an arrangement with a betting company, an internationally famous betting company.
Most clubs do, right?
That's right. And the lady comes round and she gives you a form, and I fill the forms in, and I do things like first goal scorer, last goal scorer, time of first goal.
In fact, you normally stick a picture out of your bets when they win. So you didn't do that this week, so I presume you didn't win.
Maybe, but I mean, the point is,
Well, nobody could have predicted 4-0 Everton.
Nobody could have predicted 4-0, which would have been 100-1. But anyway, there you go. Anyway, the point of my story is, because I leave very, very sharply at the end of the game, usually the betting desk where you can go and pick up your dosh is not even open.
Okay.
They have to wait, literally 5 or 10 minutes till after the game to make sure that goals haven't been disallowed and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I go, but anyway, I carry this form back with me. So I go into the high street shop.
Oh, yeah.
In a stockbroker belt.
And can you cash it in there then?
Well, you can, and it says on the form quite clearly, because they're aware of the fact that football fans are very transient.
Yeah.
Some have travelled hundreds of miles to the game, and they might forget to cash it in or something like that. So it's all prepared for. So I go into this high street shop in Stockbroker Belt, and there is a young lady sitting behind a machine at the far end of the counter.
Right.
So I thought, well, I won't disturb her because she's clearly busy doing something.
Yeah.
So I waited about 3 minutes and then 4 minutes. And then I said, "Excuse me." I said, "Is there anybody else around?" She said, "Why? Am I not good enough?" I said, "I'm sorry." She said, "What do you want?"
That's a bit harsh.
Yeah. And I said, "I'm awfully sorry." I said, "I thought you were busy on your machine." Yeah. She said, "I'm here. What do you want? Do you want to, have you got
very nice, is it?
Yeah, you got a ticket? You want to place a bet?" I said, "Oh," I said, "Well, I'm sorry." I said, I thought you had somebody else with you. I didn't want to bother you." She said, "What is it?" So I produced this form.
Rude, isn't it?
Yeah, I produced this form.
Yeah.
So she snatched it off me because there's only there's one of these windows.
Was there anybody else in there?
Nobody else in there.
Really?
Nobody else in there. Well, there were a couple of punters, but there was nobody else behind the counter.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't like bustling.
It wasn't bustling at all.
Right.
It was a Monday morning after the game, and it was very quiet. And she snatched it from me, and she looked at it, and then she turned it over. And she said, "What's this?" And I said, "What do you mean, what is this?"
Yeah.
She said, "I've never seen one of these before." I said, "It's got the name of your company written all over it."
Yeah.
She said, "Yeah, well, what is it?" I said, "It comes from a football ground."
Right.
I said, "It's a franchise that you have inside football grounds."
Right.
And see what it says on the back. This can be redeemed at any high street shop.
Okay.
Yeah. I said, "I want you to redeem
Sounds
it, please."
like a horrible encounter.
Oh, honest to God, it was terrible. And she was young. She had very, very short hair, big earrings, real attitude, And
She didn't like you, did she?
She didn't like me at all. And she said, "I want to redeem it, please." She said, "You can't." I said, "What?"
You sure that's what she called you?
This is a family show, and that's a pathetic and tawdry
Well, it
comment.
sounds like that's the way the conversation was going.
And I said, "Why not?" She said, "I've never seen one of these before. I don't know how to do it."
Right.
And I said, "Well, you better find somebody who knows how to do it."
Yes.
She said, "There isn't anybody else here." So I said,
this woman sounds like she shouldn't be working in the public service arena at all.
She shouldn't have been working for this company because she didn't know how to even cash their bets in and all that kind of stuff. I said, could I have that back, please? I thought she was going to rip it up, She gave me back. I said, thank you.
So have you still got it?
Yes. I said, can I just say, you're the most unhelpful person I've ever come across in a shop or the retail sector.
Yeah.
I said, I will come back tomorrow when there's somebody here who's a bit more helpful than you. And I said, and I shall point out how inadequate you are. Thank you. And I walked out.
And have you been back since?
No, I haven't had time. But I will be. I will be going back.
Well, you may want to tell as well the people that we know, because we do know plenty of people.
Well, this is why I say, then you have to ring up the press office.
Not that you want to get her fired, but she shouldn't be behaving like that.
No, you've got people there who... Well, if I was an ordinary punter and she treated me like that, I would never use that betting shop again.
Yeah, right.
Ever. Because she was offensive, rude, ignorant, hopelessly inadequate at her job. And why would you go into a place like that?
Yeah. Ghastly. Terrible.
Ghastly.
Tales from the Porky dark side.
Yes.
Coming up, we're going to be talking to Rachel Murphy-Rutland, hopefully, who's arrived with some wine. This is TalkSport.
Oh, yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman. Wait, hey, Mr. Postman. Mr. Postman, whoa, yeah. Please, Mr. Postman. Whoa, yeah.
This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. Coming up, Porkyvision a little bit later on. Tomorrow, of course, it's the Porky Quiz, which is going to be on the subject of Winston Churchill. But right now, as a rather special treat for us, I have to say, at this time of the morning, we've been visited by Rachel Murphy-Rutland, co-founder of Garçon Wines, who's brought this very unique bottle of wine with her, which we're going to have a taste of and which we're going to have a look at. This is something you exposed a few weeks ago,
Well,
right?
I didn't kind of expose it. I saw a feature on it in a high-quality magazine illustrating, and first of all, can I say hello, Rachel, good evening, good morning, and welcome.
It's very much the morning.
It's
Good morning.
very much the morning. Thank you very much for coming to see us. It's great to have you in the studio. And the thing that most attracted me to this, Rachel, and I want you to explain immediately to our millions of listeners where the idea came from, is this bottle of wine specifically designed so that anybody can order it over, the phone, mail it, and then have it pushed through their letterbox?
That's exactly it.
Right.
As simple as it gets. Wine through your letterbox.
And who came up with the idea?
So Joe, my co-founder, was actually ordering some wine as you normally would when you get 6 in a box, but was never home for the delivery. And at the same time as the collection card landed on the doorstep, his Grays box did with nuts in. And he thought, whoa, why can't I get my wine like my nuts?
Like my nuts.
Like my nuts.
yeah,
What
okay.
nuts do you get delivered?
Yeah.
What else that you can get delivered?
No, the nuts were is this something he likes? He just likes to pack it in.
He gets nuts delivered as well as wine.
I see.
But it's in a smaller package.
I'm sure there's other things Joe gets delivered, but we probably shouldn't talk about
But
that.
that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, we live in a world now where you can pretty much get anything delivered.
Well,
you can get your food delivered, you can get...
Yeah, but normally you've got to be in to get something that doesn't fit through your letterbox. Now, this is the most interesting part of it, Rachel. Did you then get yourself into the research of what you'd have to put that wine in to make sure that when it slips through a letterbox, it doesn't smash on your doormat?
Exactly, and that was the hard bit, to be honest, because there has been plastic wine bottles. Sainsbury's have been doing them since about 2007, and obviously it needs to be plastic, otherwise the glass will break when it goes through the letterbox. Not to mention the shape won't go through the letterbox.
So I haven't actually seen the bottle yet. Is it actually thinner? Can we have a look?
Oh, thank you. Can you pass that to me? Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. It looks like...
Well, that's brilliant.
I'll tell you what, it looks a bit like a bottle of Woodford Reserve, which is in that sort of shape. It's not quite so...
I think it's absolutely brilliant. I tell you what it looks like. Do
you know the bourbon I'm talking about, Woodford Reserve?
Yes, I do.
You get in that sort of thin bottle.
Yes, I do. If I had to describe this to somebody out there who can't say it is actually...
Well, that would be everyone.
No, it is actually like... it's like a paddle, almost. You see what I mean? If you turn it upside down...
Well, the sort of thing you hit people with.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
We don't endorse hitting.
No, we don't endorse hitting. I'll tell you what it is. It's just come to me.
Yeah.
Imagine a cricket bat. Imagine a cricket bat, right, with a handle that only goes half as high as a normal cricket bat handle.
What, you mean a bottle?
Eh?
You mean a bottle?
No, imagine a cricket bat.
Yeah,
imagine looking at the face of a cricket bat.
Yeah.
And the handle on the top of a cricket bat is normally about twice as high as the neck of this bottle.
You don't describe it very well, but I know what you
I
mean.
am, yeah. So the neck of the bottle is only half as high as the handle on a cricket bat.
Does it stand up? It looks quite elegant.
Yeah, of course it does, yeah.
It does stand up.
And that's basically what you've got. That's brilliant. Right,
That's actually, I'll tell you what, you can store that probably a lot easier as well, right?
Absolutely.
in fridges and things.
Well, no, not even just that, but I mean, in a sort of, I don't know whether you design a wine rack for this particular shaped bottle.
Well, you don't need to, because your fridge has a shelf.
Yeah,
and they stock really nicely.
It's quite tall, isn't it?
It is.
It's a bit taller than your average bottle.
So it is. I mean, what's interesting is that it's actually in the same proportion as a normal wine bottle.
Does it have as much in it as a normal wine bottle?
Exactly.
75 centilitres.
So I know from experience that in a normal wine bottle you get 3 large glasses of wine. Is that the same as that one?
What?
Exactly.
Absolutely. 3 large glasses.
Is that how you do them in?
Yes.
You do 3 glasses and that's your bottle done.
It is, yeah. In a you know,
if
a
you're
lot.
with somebody else.
Well, they can have 1 and I'll have 2. That's the way it normally works.
So what
Now
I'm thinking, you could actually store it almost in a sort of chest, not a chest of drawers, but like a sideboard.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Without having to stand it up. I mean, you could almost lay one on top of the other.
Exactly.
My concern about this, right? Without wishing to nitpick.
I'm just going to open this whilst you're
you go
talking.
ahead.
Yeah.
My concern is that your friend, for example, who orders 6 bottles. Would you order 6, which would come in separate? I mean, because I tend to order boxes by the case of 12.
Yes.
Right? And so
Because he drinks a lot.
and I don't. Bizarrely, in both of the places where I tend to be,
Yes.
neither one of them actually has a letterbox.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, one
Well,
has.
most places have letterboxes.
Well,
Most do,
I
thankfully.
I live in an apartment building in
Yeah,
London, right,
yeah.
which has a mailbox system.
Yeah.
You could probably put it in there.
Do you have a concierge?
I don't have a concierge, no. But in the other place in Sussex,
Peasant, you see, no concierge.
have you got a concierge?
Sorry?
Have you got a concierge?
In which of my
Any of them?
homes? In which of my homes?
You haven't, have you? Why don't you just say no?
No, I don't have a concierge. No.
So were you a peasant as well then?
No, I'm not a peasant.
Oh.
The thing is, mate, I've got a mailbox downstairs big enough to take one of these, you see.
Yeah.
It's a proper mailbox.
Well, that's
not
where you
some,
get all your paddles delivered, is
Not
it?
some stingy little hole in the wall.
You
Anyway.
might have to move just to get
Yeah.
our wine.
No,
I
but
would
what I'm saying is
contemplate
where I
it.
live in Sussex,
Yeah.
right, there's a place where the box of wine can be left, but
Yes.
there's still no actual letterbox because it's
Yes.
an old-fashioned door and it's one of those old...
Has it got a Victorian letterbox? They're our current.
It's got no kind of letterbox. It's just got a big oak door, which
Okay.
is white and
Now,
sort of with black things around
Just
it.
let me interrupt for a moment. What sort of wine have you brought us tonight, please?
So tonight we have rosé
Rosé, that's great,
from
lovely.
a vineyard in the UK.
In the UK, right.
Absolutely.
Well, I've poured Michael and I a glass. Mike,
Yeah.
you've got a glass there.
Yeah, go on.
Right, okay, here we
Pour a
go.
little bit in there.
A little bit in here for you.
And whereabouts does your wine generally come from? Because when we were discussing it earlier,
Let's have a sip of this.
Mike was saying that much of it will be imported sort of in bulk, and then you get it bottled by somebody here. So where does it get bottled?
Well, at the moment,
I have to say it's
because-
delicious.
That's good.
You like that? Yeah, it's all
absolutely lovely. Yeah.
Halfpenny is the name of the vineyard.
Is it?
Just to give it a
Is
plug.
it? Where's it
Yeah.
from?
It's actually, I'm not sure what county. I think it's in Shropshire.
Is it
Shropshire, yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds about right.
Half
yeah.
penny. I'll look it up. Hang on.
Excellent.
Very
Mike,
nice man Clive gave us that.
That's excellent. Now, my colleague here, Mike, was very worried. He said, well, if you bring wine to this country in bulk, because it's not just English wine, is it, that you bottle at all?
Absolutely not, no.
He's saying that, it's cheap stuff and all that, until he found out that most of the best European wines and New World wines are brought here in bulk on ships and then
Absolutely,
bottled.
yeah.
Is that right?
That's exactly how it works, yes. So at the moment, we would want to work with vineyards individually so that we can promote their brands.
Right.
And also get our customer base interested in different wines that you wouldn't usually hear of.
Yeah.
And how that comes into the UK and how that gets into our bottles is yet to be decided, if I'm honest. We might have a factory somewhere.
Right.
I'm very keen for a factory.
So what stage is your business then? It's not fully developed yet then?
No, not at all. So
It's near Stourbridge, by the looks of it. This place, Halfpenny Green Vineyards. Is that right?
Stourbridge, yeah.
Halfpenny Green
That's,
Vineyards.
that is
I mean, there's
either
a lot of very
Shropshire
good English
or
wine. I mean, my
Worcestershire.
worry is that a lot of the imported wine that comes
Yeah.
in bulk
Yeah.
tends to be what you would call, sort of budget wine, if you like. I mean, it's a lot of people like Hardy's bring it in that way, and a lot of things like Jacob's Creek, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But I mean, the wine that you're selling is more likely to be either more unusual types of wine like this,
well, exactly.
or sort of cheaper versions.
Most vineyards around the world only have a relatively small volume. So if we can
Right.
tap into them and give them a new market, then that would be ideal for
Yeah.
us, because then you can explore different grapes, different varieties
Right.
from different places.
And so, what kind of will you do like just a one-off service? Will you do a mail order service?
It's a subscription service.
So okay,
So
do you
you
have,
can
do you
have-
have to buy so many bottles per year or something?
No, just buy as many as you want. Turn
Right.
the subscription on and off.
Right.
And
Pick
is your-
where you want them from.
Is your business now up and running?
So we were very successful on a TV show recently.
Yeah.
We won, so that was nice.
Yeah.
You
so
can
with
say
that
what it
money,
was, we don't mind.
Pop-up startup on
Pop-up
CNBC.
startup. Oh, okay.
Oh, well done.
Channel 613 Virgin.
Is it? Okay.
Very good, yeah.
I don't have Virgin, so I'll have a look for it somewhere else.
Sky 505.
Okay.
So we won that, which was great. And we're now just deciding what to do next. We'll probably do crowdfunding.
Yes.
Or look for investment, because this business obviously requires an entire supply chain, which is difficult to build on 20 grand, if I'm honest.
Right.
Now, there's no label on this particular bottle here, but presumably there will be a label on it.
That's what we
eventually.
want to do. Yeah, we want to promote the individual wineries so that they create their own sort of following, if you like. And
Would you
then
like to do
there'll
a
be
Two Mics label? Because we've got a big following out
We
there.
certainly have, yeah.
And people, I'm sure, would buy it.
In fact, funny enough, in a couple of weeks' time, we're launching pork scratchings in our name. Believe it or not.
I think wine goes very well with port scratching.
Yeah, it
if I
does.
do say so.
I'm sure it will. So can somebody, if they want to now, when they hear this on this show, we have millions of listeners, they'll be interested to know where they get it from. So what is your website at the moment?
So the website is www.garson.club.
Yeah.
And you can sign up there for newsletter and just register your interest.
And when do you expect the first bottle to drop through the letterboxes in this country?
We're hoping for 2 months' time.
Really?
Yeah.
That quickly?
Well, maybe not the actual bottle. Maybe the signing up and the registering.
Yeah.
And then bottle at some point in the near future.
Okay. I mean, this can revolutionise wine supply in this country, can't it?
We hope so.
But, you know, when you say crowdfunding...
I don't think it's going to do that straight away, though.
Well, maybe not straight away, but it's growth. I mean, in the same...
I think you might get people interested in some of the smaller vineyards who
Exactly.
maybe don't know about them, rather than, say, importing something that you might call an Australian
Mike,
Shiraz. You know what I mean?
you're talking about the quality of the wine all
Yes,
the time.
I am. I'm talking as a connoisseur of wine. Okay?
Yeah, okay, I accept that.
Which you're not.
I'm talking about the availability of getting it posted through your letterbox,
Well-
which I think is the key selling point that you have.
Well, it
Well,
saves
it's
you
both.
having to go out to the local BP and buying 4 bottles and staggering home with them, I suppose. That's
Well,
what you mean.
of course it is. If it arrives on you, I mean, can you imagine? You know, you've got a terrible hangover from last night, and all of a sudden, kabunk. And on the door, I'm like, wow, there's another bottle there. Thank you very much indeed.
So
That
it's
suit
for
me.
both of you. It's quality wine on your doorstep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
or through your door, in fact. On
Yeah.
your
But like I
door
say,
mat.
I mean, I know what you're saying about some wine clubs deliver and then you're not in and all that kind of thing. But an awful lot of people also get this wine through, you know, Ocado, Tesco, Sainsbury's, who home deliver, and they give you a slot and you're there and it comes and you get it that way. So it's quite a tough market to crack, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, most of the online wine in this country is sold through supermarkets.
Yeah.
Yes.
What sort of
Despite the
pricing?
number.
What sort of pricing are you going to go for?
About £10 at the moment.
£10 a bottle. See, that's quite a
Yeah.
lot, isn't it?
Does that include
It is a lot.
postage and packing?
Well, compared to Lidl, perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
Yes,
no, compared to
all in,
Tesco's
all in.
or anyone, really. I mean, you can get some pretty decent.
Yeah, but hang on,
bottles
that's
of wine.
postage and packing as well. Most people will pay for that and say if it's going to drop through my door. Crowdfunding-wise, how much have you got to raise to get it off the ground?
Well, the recommendation is about 50 grand.
Right, okay.
So that's what
You could
works
give
well
her that,
for
Porky.
crowdfunding.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that's not unachievable. I mean, if
Absolutely
you'd have
not,
said to
no.
me 5 million, I'd said you got a long wait. But 50 grand, you shouldn't have a problem.
Man of
Well,
the
we're
people.
hoping to build organically off the back of that.
Yes,
Because I mean,
exactly,
the other great thing about crowdfunding is the marketing opportunity.
Yes, exactly.
So
yeah.
you're reaching out to people who will hopefully become
Yeah.
your future customers.
Well, look, I'm going to have another
Well, good
sip
luck
just
with it.
before you, and I want to say the very best of luck. I think it's a great idea. Hang on.
Thank you.
Well, you should be the first person that orders it. Eh? Should you not?
That's
Well, don't
lovely.
make any
lovely.
disgusting noises, please.
No, I'm just telling you how good it is.
Yeah.
So, Rachel, I wish you the very best of luck with it.
Thank you very much.
I think it's a great idea, unique idea. I love entrepreneurs who, you know, forge through new ideas.
Do you think you're
Which
turning to Duncan Ballantyne now?
wish you the very best of luck, and please keep us posted on progress.
Absolutely. We'll sign you up to the website.
Yeah, do
Sign me
that.
up to the website, and I tell you what, the day I see a half-page advert in a national newspaper selling this, I shall say to myself, we were there at the beginning.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Lovely indeed. Thank you very
you'll
much
still
indeed.
be alive then?
Sorry?
You think you'll still be alive
Depends
then?
how long it takes to get it up and running.
True. Rachel, thank you very much indeed. Rachel
worries.
Murphy Rutland,
Thank you.
co-founder of Garson Wines. It's garson.club is where you find them. This is TalkSport.
Hey! The sun goes down like a bad dream. You end up tight, gotta let off steam. These days they can break you again and again. If life is a radio, turn up to 10. These are crazy, 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 crazy nights. These are crazy, 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 crazy nights. Whoa, these are
of the two mics. Can you stop drinking that wine, please?
Well, I can't, actually. It's very nice.
I'm going to save it for a bit of it for later.
Yeah.
Rachel was very nice, wasn't she?
Very nice lady, and I do wish her the best of luck because, people who go out on their own, they're brave. They want to, create something. They want to make something work. They want to be successful and provide a service to other people. Very, very best of luck.
Yes, well, we shall see. But, it's a challenging area. The only reason I wasn't trying to be, a wine snob when I was saying that to you.
Yeah.
But, I very rarely would pay £10 for a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Because I get it. I would buy wine that costs that much, but you get it on sale. It's a little bit cheaper. Yeah. You get free delivery. And a lot of supermarkets are doing specials. It's a very competitive market.
But the focus for me was not on what's in the bottle. It's the shape of the bottle and the convenience of having it posted through your letterbox.
Sure.
That's what I think is the best,
but what I'm saying
thing
is
about it.
I know that you're not au fait with a lot of this stuff because you don't get that much stuff delivered in terms of food. But I get all my food delivered to my place in London. And, it's very straightforward, and the wine comes with it. Yeah. And it doesn't cost any extra money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very challenging scenario, I would say.
Absolutely. Well, I do wish them luck anyway, because the wine market is expanding so rapidly in this country. You might think it's a, what's the word I'm looking for? A mature market, but it's not. A mature market. It's not. There is millions and millions and millions percentage scope for the expansion of the wine market in this country. I've been told that by connoisseurs.
Have you?
Yes.
Yeah. You don't know any wine connoisseurs, but anyway, what I would say is that if you are going to be exposed to sort of interesting smaller vineyards around this country, I think that would be a good thing, and I would certainly buy that sort of wine. Yeah. Because you can't always get that in many of the bigger outlets. But £10 for a bottle of wine that comes to your letterbox, and it only comes when you haven't got a letterbox. I'm not quite sure how that would work.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
it wasn't interesting. It's Brendan Rodgers' birthday today. On the day.
Well, you told us that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also Jose Mourinho's birthday.
Oh, is it?
And Jose's 54, so he's 10 years older than Brendan Rodgers.
He's won a bit more than Brendan Rodgers.
I was about to say the 10-year difference when Jose was 44. Now I'm just getting this into my head. He won the Champions League in 2003, didn't he?
Was that Inter Milan?
No, Porto.
Oh, Porto, sorry, the first time,
yeah.
Yes.
Which means that he must have won the Portuguese League in 2002.
Yeah.
So that is 15 years ago, right? Because we're now in 17.
Yes.
So it means that he was winning things by the age of 39.
Yeah.
And Brendan is 44.
Right.
So Jose's got a very big start on him in terms of...
Well, some people might have said that if Luis Suarez had stayed at Liverpool, he might have won more. But, obviously Liverpool's policy was not to keep Suarez there. It was to get rid of him.
Yeah, but he didn't win anything, did he, Brendan?
No.
I'm not
no, but what I'm saying is
if
Suarez had stayed there, he might have been able to win something.
Yeah, it was lucky break inherited a team that had Luis Suarez in it, and he was a whisker away, really, from
But also, there's
title.
not, to be fair, there's not many managers that have got Jose Mourinho's record, really.
No,
you
of course
can't really compare most people to Jose
Mourinho.
No,
I totally agree. I'm just saying that sometimes, if you haven't done it by the age of 44... maybe you're not going to, but of course Claudio Ranieri will be the exception to that rule, won't he?
Exactly right.
Got into his 60s before he won anything in football at all.
I'll tell you what, it's also not the birthday of, but the anniversary of, and I got sent this earlier by Simon in Sheffield, who's one of our followers.
Yes.
That it was the first sort of, shall we say, incursion out of Fleet Street back in 1986. When Wapping suddenly became a place that the print workers...
Was that 86, was it?
It was 1986,
yeah.
And it was what, this date in 1986.
Oh, was it? On this day, yeah.
Well, which was the beginning of the end of Fleet Street.
Yeah, it was, yeah, you're right. And what happened was, that the papers that moved out were the Sun and the News of the World, and
the Times.
Well, not immediately. Followed very quickly by the Times and the Sunday Times.
Yeah,
because the Times and the Sunday Times were based in Gray's Inn Road, which was quite away from Fleet Street.
Well, the strange thing about that was that I remember going to the Times offices in Gray's Inn Road,
right next to the ITN studios.
Right next to that, because at the time, before Wapping, nobody knew about it. It had to be done in such secret.
That's right.
That even all the equipment that was brought in through the docks had to be marked as kind of it had to be put into sort of camouflage.
That's right, yeah.
So nobody knew it was computer equipment, because otherwise the dock workers would have told the print unions and it would have all been stopped.
That's right.
And all of that. But they also did something which was unusual. I don't know if you remember this guy called Mike Hoy. You remember him?
Yeah, I do.
Who used to work for the National Enquirer.
Yes.
And he was an Australian guy.
Yeah.
And he was put in charge of recruiting people for a fictitious newspaper called the London Post.
That's right, which was supposed to be an evening paper.
Which was meant to be an evening paper, which never ever was got off the ground. It was never intended to get off the ground. But I actually went for an interview with him to be their New York correspondent.
Right.
and sat in a room with him in the Times building in Gray's Inn Road, and he talked me through what they were going to do, how they were going to pay me, and all this, and it was all complete and utter bluff.
Yeah,
which I thought was amazing.
Well, our old boss, Sir Nicholas Lloyd, was in fact, I think, appointed chief executive of the London Post.
That's right, he was, yeah.
He was going to mastermind the whole. So I presume he was in on the.
So he was in on the whole Wapping thing.
On the whole Wapping thing.
But it was only a very, very few people that knew what was going on.
That's right. But I've spoken to colleagues from Fleet Street the night before Wapping opened. They were all called together in the newsroom at the old Sun News of the World.
Yeah, Bouverie Street.
Yeah, Bouverie Street. That's right, just off Fleet Street, down south towards the river, and they were told, right, tomorrow you're not coming here. Oh, where are we going? You're going to Wapping.
Yeah.
Anybody who doesn't want to go to Wapping can opt out now, and there'll be a generous settlement if you don't wish to continue your career with us. Those who are going...
Because they knew it was going to be violent and troublesome and all the rest of it.
Well, the first day wasn't going to be because they were going to take everybody by surprise. That's why they said, get there tomorrow, won't be any trouble. After that, you might need to be bussed in. In buses.
They were bussed in buses that had chicken wire on the outside.
They had grills across the windows.
So they couldn't get rocks thrown at.
And all sorts of things, you know.
Well, the story here that I'm looking at the Simon Centres,
yes.
8 police officers have been injured and 58 people arrested in the worst outbreak of violence yet outside the News International plant in Wapping, East London.
Yes.
One officer, 27-year-old sergeant, was taken to hospital with head injuries. 5,000 demonstrators were outside on the road.
That's right. So there weren't 5,000 print workers in Fleet Street, but I mean, what happened was the trade union movement suddenly saw a most enormous challenge to their authority in the workplace being, visited upon them. And they knew that if the printers got beaten in this, then the whole house would come tumbling down.
Strike lasted for a year, right? Picketing was exceptionally violent. 1,262 arrests, 410 police injuries.
Yeah.
And it was a very horrible time as well to be a journalist working there.
It was a very horrible time to be a journalist. It was a worse time to be a production worker because what happened was they refused to take any print workers with them after doing a deal with a guy called Eric Hammond, who was leader of the Electricians Union, who saw huge opportunities for his members if the industry suddenly changed from employing printers to employing what were basically electricians.
Yeah, there's a great book actually called The End of the Street.
Yes.
Which I can't remember who is written, but who the author of that is. But it's a great book about the end of Fleet Street.
Yeah, that's right.
Moved out, you know.
Yeah, people like Andrew Neil, who was then the editor of the Sunday Times.
Yeah.
I remember reading, about one occasion when they thought they had the upper hand. It was towards the end of the dispute, and he'd come out on a balcony somewhere and flash a bottle of champagne and crack it open and serve his executives a glass or two, taunting those outside who... and in the end, it just collapsed. In the end, Brenda Dean, who was the head of the biggest print union, just in the end said, we'll have to have a peace meeting.
Because it was only 2 years as well after the miners' strike,
That's
which
right.
had been terribly, terribly divisive for the country.
Yeah, and had destroyed the mining union.
And the whole sort of Thatcherite system was killing the unions anyway.
Yeah.
But also, the papers were getting out, the papers were getting sold.
That's right.
Because the other thing that Murdoch did was instead of sending all the stuff by rail, which wouldn't have carried them, he brought his own trucks in.
I think
TNT, and started just distributing them without using the railways.
I think he started a transport company, didn't he?
He did, TNT.
It's called TNT, and one of the biggest problems at Wapping, in the late night protests with 5,000 protesters, was getting the lorries out of the plant.
Yes.
Because...
but they had a massive big ramp.
There was a huge symbolic ramp where the lorries went in one side, the papers loaded up and they came down the other, but they still had to get from that distance from the Wapping plant up to the highway, the main road, through, literally an army or armies, thousands, a human wave of people.
But then they moved them, didn't they? Because I remember when I was in New York at the time, so I wasn't really required to cross the picket line as such. When I came back, I was doing a lot of work for the News of the World to come and see them.
Yes.
And at that point, they got to a point where legally they were only allowed 6 pickets down by the
Something
front
like
entrance,
that.
and the rest of them all had to be up on the other side of the road.
Yes, that's right.
So that ceased to be as effective as well.
Well, yeah, but, there were all sorts of things like throwing metal spiked balls onto the road so the lorries' tyres were shredded.
It was a very dirty
and all
tricks campaign,
and really, there were a lot of police horses down there. There were the police horses were attacked. I mean, it was a bloody and brutal confrontation. And without...
it was. Well, one of the other stories I remember hearing was about they used their black cabs. Of course, wouldn't go there.
That's
because
right.
An awful lot of the black cab drivers were actually working as printers.
They were,
but they only worked part time as printers.
That's right.
So they had second jobs as black cab drivers, and they
right.
did very well.
All that kind of stuff.
So they had to hire a mini cab company in the East End.
Yeah.
And the union guys went down to try and sort of Put
the muscle on
them.
Yeah.
And the story that I was told was that the guy who ran the cab company pulled a sawn-off shotgun out from under his desk.
Yes.
And said, if I ever see any of you in here again, you're getting your legs blown off.
That's right.
And they never went back.
Get out, and they never went back. That's
it
right.
was a fascinating time.
Certainly was.
Anyway, we've got loads more to talk about.
Certainly
We've got
have.
Porkyvision coming up in the next hour, of course.
Yes.
I presume you're going to curtail the wine drinking now because obviously we have to be serious.
I've only literally been tasting it and spitting it out.
Literally.
Yes.
Absolutely right.
Yes.
This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. Loads more coming up after the news. Why are we playing this?
Well, this is amazing, actually.
It's not another story about The Exorcist.
No, it's not. It's not. It's nothing to do with The Exorcist. Now, that music is Tubular Bells, okay?
It is indeed.
Now, that was written
Have
by...
you got that?
Sorry?
Have you got it?
No, I haven't.
No?
No.
Mike Oldfield never put out a greatest hits album, I don't think.
No, he didn't, but I couldn't listen to it all the way through because it all sounded the same to me, although I accept it was a production of brilliance, you know?
Well, it's one of those things in the 70s that you put on in the background and the people would sit around smoking dope.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Apparently.
Anyway, that's Mike Oldfield, right?
Hergest Ridge was another one of his, I think.
What was it called?
Hergest Ridge, I seem to remember.
Was it? I don't know.
I had that album
Okay.
as well.
But anyway, he wrote that when he was 19, all right? Now, you know, that is quite something. Tubular Bells...
Well, he sort of single-handedly made Richard Branson into the mogul that he is now.
Well, they were good for each other in the same way as Lord Alan Sugar produced all the digital boxes for Rupert Murdoch's Sky TV in the start. They're good for each other, you know what I mean? Yeah,
is that right?
And all that kind of
was
stuff.
Was that after Amstrad?
Well, I think it was part of Amstrad. It was the Amstrad sort of deal and stuff, yeah. But anyway, listen, what I was going to say is that Mike Oldfield's now got a new album out.
Yeah.
But he lives in the Bahamas, and he says he's no intention whatsoever of leaving the Bahamas to promote it either in Britain or around the world, that he hasn't left the Bahamas for 5 years and has no intention of doing so.
Why not? Indeed. It sounds like quite a nice position to be in. He probably still makes a bucket load of money off Tubular Bells, doesn't he?
Well, I'll tell you, it's a very interesting... I've seen this piece written about him, he very rarely gives interviews, and in fact, even this interview, which appeared in the Sunday Times... it was done over Skype, but he would not allow his full frontal face to be on view while he was giving the interview.
Full frontal face?
No, he wouldn't allow it.
What do you mean?
He put it into shadow and turned his head sideways so nobody could take a picture
Moonlight
of it.
Shadow?
No, I don't think it's anything like that.
That's the name of one of his songs. Sorry.
I thought that was Cat Stevens.
No.
Everybody's talking about a Moonlight Shadow.
No, Moonlight Shadow was in Mike Oldfield song.
Okay, right, anyway...
I'm being followed by a Moon Shadow, I think you're thinking about, aren't you?
No.
It's Cat Stevens.
No, I don't think so. Anyway, it's not about Cat Stevens. Right, he says, I live a very austere life here.
Uh-huh. This
is in the Bahamas. He says, I do not see Sean Connery or the billionaires in the gated communities. I don't have any staff. He says, I only got a cleaner for a few hours a week. But he's 63 now, right?
Got a cleaner for a few hours a week.
And he does everything now to prevent anybody seeing him. The journalist who did this was a guy called Oliver Thring. He says, we've arranged a video chat on Skype, but he dials in with his camera turned off, reluctantly switching it on only when I ask him to. It reveals a grainy palm tree and the silhouette of half his head. When I suggest he tilts the camera, he makes a lengthy pretense of not knowing where it is and won't do it. I ask him what he's hiding from. He says, well, I haven't left NASA for nearly 5 years now, since I returned from performing at the opening ceremony for the London Olympics. That will have been my final ever public show. I'll never be doing one again.
Well, I mean, if you're 63, why would you bother? I mean, he's probably a multi-millionaire, right? Why would he need to go
Well, he's not.
perform?
This is the point. I'll get on to that. He said, I never enjoyed gigs, and I'll certainly not be touring for the new album, which is called Return to Omnidown, whatever that means.
Omnidown?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's Omnidown.
Omnidown?
Omadorn.
Omadorn?
Yeah, Return to Omadorn, Ommadawn, okay?
Right.
Which is apparently a reference to the music of his early career.
Yeah, it would have been another album, wouldn't it? Omadorn, I think.
Omadorn, yeah, okay, Return to Omadorn,
Pretty
yeah.
sure.
So, but he does say, this is a very interesting man. He said, I would have been honoured to perform at Donald Trump's inauguration. I was hoping he would win. Everything has been going downhill for years. We need a big change. That's why I'm delighted with Brexit. He says he likes reading books about the Second World War. He says, where would the world be without the Russians? Lots of my fans are Russians, you know.
Sounds like he's got a bit mad.
Well, no, this is so interesting. He says Trump's a fan.
He lives as a recluse.
Yeah.
Right? He only ever sees his cleaner.
Yes.
He's a big fan of Donald Trump.
Yes.
And he's got lots of Russian fans.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
So he goes on to say, Trump is a big fan of mine, so is Putin, and so are China. All the big countries need to unite to rid the world of terrorism. He has a very pessimistic streak in him, but that's understandable.
Uh-huh.
It says, last year I underwent a punishingly expensive divorce.
Yes.
That was from his second wife, whose name was Fanny van der Kerkhof.
Van der Kerkhof? Sounds a bit Dutch, that.
No, she's a French horse breeder who was 24 years...
Say somebody else there for a second.
His junior. As a result of the divorce, he's had to replace his...
A French horse breeder?
Yeah, French horse breeder, yeah. As a result...
That's great, this story.
Yeah, it is a great story, isn't it? As a result of his divorce, he's had to replace his 68-foot yacht with a 17-foot yacht.
Well, he's not broke then, is he?
But he doesn't go out anyway.
He sounds a bit of an eccentric, this guy.
Well, he does a bit, yeah. He's got children all over the place. Van der Hoekver, right, has custody of their two sons.
Fanny.
But Oldfield has another two children from a relationship with a Norwegian singer.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's got three more.
Is that the reason why he got divorced?
Well, I'll get to that in a minute. And he had three more in the 1980s with Sally Cooper, who was a British PR.
Oh, yeah.
He says, quotes, the divorce has given me awful financial problems. And with the way the music industry is going, I could be in real trouble in a few years.
Well... maybe it should have been a bit more careful. How many kids has he got? That's 7.
I counted 7 altogether. Yeah. Hang on, 2, 2, and 3. That's 7. Yeah.
So he went to live in Ibiza because remember you killed him. You killed him off.
Yeah,
you?
I did. Yeah,
some years ago, you said that he'd gone to Ibiza and drunk himself to death.
But it wasn't. It was the guy who wrote Baker Street.
Jerry Rafferty.
Jerry Rafferty.
You know, one of the reasons he moved out of Britain was because he was so enraged by the smoking ban.
Who?
What do you mean, who?
Which
Mike Oldfield.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Jerry Rafferty then for a minute. Well, that's funny because it says that during this course of this interview, he was sucking on roll-up cigarettes.
Yeah.
So that's what he's
Well,
like.
he's obviously a big fan of smoking.
Yeah, but anyway, he says the little ceremony of marriage has terrible repercussions when it goes wrong.
Pop quiz.
Asked how much he had to pay out in the divorce. He says, I'm not allowed to tell you, but it seems very unfair to me. He says, I'm now single. I don't miss female company at all. I don't want anything romantic. I don't want any love. I don't want any sex. I will never get married. Sorry?
What about the cleaner? She might be Brazilian.
He says, I will never get married again. No way on this planet will I ever get married.
God, he sounds a bit bitter and twisted, this guy.
Well, he's had a terrible tragedy in his life because the divorce topped off a rotten couple of years. In May 2015, Oldfield's eldest son, Dougal, collapsed at work one morning and died of natural causes.
Oh, God.
He was 33.
How awful.
And he says, I'm still processing that. It was so unexpected, cruel and unkind, it's painful even to think about. So that's obviously blighted his life in a big, big way.
Well, it would, yeah.
As of course it would. He has spoken about before about his years on the therapist's sofa. Who does he have to talk to about all his problems, including Dougal? He says, I do not need anybody for that. I'm robust and can be aware something is not there anymore without going to pieces. And then he reflects on, things in the past.
So presumably he's done this interview as part of the promotion for the album,
But it's the only thing he's doing to promote the album. The only thing is, I'm not going on a tour or anything like that. I'm not going to... But the thing is, people started telling him he was a genius just as he was leaving school when he was 17, because he was already writing music. And then he wrote Tubular Bells. He was 19 when he wrote Tubular Bells, an extended and pioneering prog rock masterpiece. Yeah. On Tubular Bells, he played all 20 different instruments.
Yes, that's right.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I did. And one of the reasons,
That's
as I say, that he became sort of Richard Branson's, I suppose, if you like, his kind of, pilot fish, if you want, was because at the time Branson only had, because I used to go to school very close to it, he had a record shop, Virgin Records, in Notting Hill Gate. Yeah. And it was the only shop that he had.
Right.
And until he then started a record label, and he started to move into actually making music, he wasn't doing particularly well. And then suddenly Mike Oldfield signed up to Virgin, and it sold so many records. I mean, it turned Branson into a millionaire kind of overnight.
Oh, absolutely, because this is the next bit he talks about. Young thruster named Richard Branson suddenly picked up on Tubular Bells in 1972 for his nascent label, i.e.,
Virgin Records.
Virgin Records, yeah. So he signed Oldfield to a 35-year contract. That's the sort of businessman Richard Branson is, right? Boosted by being chosen as the theme for The Exorcist, the LP went on to sell 16 million copies and remained in the charts for a record number of 250 weeks in this country, establishing the Virgin Empire and Branson's fortune. And it says that it's ironic now that Branson has become a billionaire and lives not very far away in the Caribbean.
That's right, Necker Island, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Where he's currently hosting the Obamas.
That's right. However,
the time, by the way.
Oldfield grew to resent the deal, and on one occasion... and
he doesn't sound like a very easy guy to get along with.
No, and actually hate Branson, right?
Oh, really?
And in 1990, he slipped a very sort of crude insult to Richard Branson in Morse code onto one of his records.
Did he?
Yeah, it was tapped out in Morse code.
You see, that's the act of somebody who is very kind of angry.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's angry about women. He's angry about the guy that made him.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I know that he was responsible for his own sort of destiny by being such a clever guy.
Yes.
But why be so angry?
Did you mention the more lawyers than friends bit?
No.
It says here, when he lived in Ibiza, where he went through a terrible time, experimented with drugs and all that kind of stuff, you know, he says, I barely survived. In those days, I had more lawyers than friends.
Yeah.
He moved to Ibiza.
No, he hasn't got either, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and had some wild years taking club drugs and enjoying a delayed adolescence. He sold the villa he'd built there to Aces star Noel Gallagher.
Oh.
But anyway, it says in Little Nassau, where he lives now, with its wrinkled celebrities and plutocrats, Oldfield finds a taste of his happy early childhood. The Bahamas are very British, but it's the Britain of the 1950s and 60s, and that's the Britain I love.
Oh, dear.
Not your Britain of the 2017. Don't want anything to do with it.
What a sad man.
Yeah.
How about this from Becky?
Amazing.
She says, were Porky and Mike Oldfield separated at birth? Apart from marriages, they are uncannily alike. At least Porky can sing.
That's very harsh.
She says. Lots of tweets on the Garçon Wine Company as well,
yeah.
some of which are not particularly, as shall we say, beneficial, as you might expect. This is Talk Sport.
Someone else do some giving. Love is all around, no need to waste it.
You remember that song?
No, I don't actually. No.
This was the theme song to the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Now, I don't remember that too well, you know.
Do you not?
I tell you what I do remember. I remember I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
As a kid, Lucy
Well, yeah,
Ball.
I remember it. It was in black and white.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
It was quite funny, actually.
Yeah, that's right. I remember Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah,
Dick Van Dyke
this
show.
was sort of, I suppose, a few years after that.
Yeah, and
so you may have moved on to
and I think,
Matters of the Flesh.
I think Mary Tyler Moore was in Dick Van Dyke.
She certainly was, yeah.
His wife, I think. I also remember Bewitched.
Yes.
Which had...
that was Larry Hagman, wasn't it?
No, that was... Bewitched was a guy called Daryl somebody, was the lead male, and I'm not sure the female was, but the female in Bewitched, I think, then starred in the one you're talking about, Larry Hagman, I Believe in Jeannie. I Dream of Jeannie, that's right, yeah, same woman, I think.
Oh, okay.
I Dream of Jeannie, and he was actually...
To wiggle her nose, he was the husband, wasn't he?
No, he was a USAF astronaut.
Was he?
And he, bought this lamp literally in a junk shop and went home and polished it. And then the genie came out.
Okay.
And she was then his servant.
Was the genie, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, the Mary Tyler Moore Show was a little bit later, I suppose. It was more like maybe the early 70s or something.
She was
60s,
apparently a TV exec, wasn't she?
Well, yeah. I mean, she was it was a kind of feminism show, really. It was the first sort of feminist show because she was unmarried. She was a professional woman working in New York. I think it was New York. So, and she had all sorts
of precursor to Sex in the City.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the fact that she didn't particularly want to get married.
No.
She wanted to have a good business career.
Yes.
And it was all around the whole kind of issues of birth control.
Yes.
And, the Vietnam War and all that. So I mean, it's been called. I mean, some of the obituaries that are being written say it was the show that changed television.
Yeah.
Because it really made. It was the first kind of show that wasn't just about entertaining people and making them laugh for the first time. It was about sort of some quite serious issues.
Yeah, no, I
she
understand.
She won 4 of her 7 Emmy Awards for it, right?
Did she?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it says she expressed both the exuberance and the melancholy of the single career woman who could plot her own course without reference to cultural archetypes.
Yeah, well, I suppose that was quite revolutionary in those days.
Well,
it was 60s and 70s, was it?
Yeah, and she died, of course, yesterday.
How old was she?
In Greenwich, Connecticut. She was 80.
80 in Greenwich, yeah.
So, which is a place you know quite well.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Cardiopulmonary arrest she suffered from.
Yeah, well, that's a heart attack. And Greenwich, of course, is big commuter belt territory into the city, isn't it? Into New York City.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, she was married to the guy that used to run NBC, apparently.
Really?
Her second husband, Grant Tinker.
Wow.
He died, I think, last November.
That's quite a powerful job.
It was a very powerful job.
Certainly
yeah.
is.
So, and she was also in Ordinary People, which was a great film. As well. So
Ordinary People.
Ordinary People. Yeah,
I
think Shirley MacLaine was in that as well.
Yes, she was.
She won an Oscar. She was an Oscar
Jack
nominated.
Nicklaus in it.
I think you're thinking of a different film.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
In terms of endearment.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
you are.
That was.
But anyway,
the
I thought she was a great woman, a great actress, and very funny.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to wish her a bit of a tribute there.
I totally agree with you. Now, remember last week? Yes, you were quite right to pay tribute to her. She was a leading figure.
She was.
You remember last week I said to you how disturbed I was to read that George Osborne, who is still an MP, had taken this job with an investment bank at 200 grand a year.
For 1 day a week.
For 1 day a week, yeah.
Which I didn't think was a problem.
Well, OK, here's one national newspaper that's going to land on your doorsteps tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Worrying questions over links between Treasury and US finance giant that's hired Osborne on huge salary.
Oh, yeah.
Troubling questions were raised last night over George Osborne's lucrative new job at a finance giant. It has emerged that the former Chancellor met BlackRock executives 5 times in his last 2 years at the Treasury. The final meeting came last July, days before Theresa May sacked him. Mr. Osborne has since landed a part-time advisory role at BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager. That means it manages more money than any other company on earth, right? So it'd be probably tens of billions, hundreds of billions, on what is thought to be a 6-figure salary. You see, this is what I hate about politicians, the old snout in the trough. They go into public service. They're supposed to serve us. We pay their salaries.
Why does it surprise you, though?
Well, it doesn't surprise me. It just blinking well annoys me that these guys then come out and decide that because they've had the privilege of being a cabinet minister for 2 or 3 years, they're suddenly going to cash in on it in a huge way. What I don't understand is, if you're a failed politician like David Cameron, why then does somebody want to pay you 200 grand to go and lecture them in America about the way the world economy works?
Well, because when you've been the leader of a country, regardless of whether you believe them to have failed at that job, I mean, he was re-elected, he ran the country for quite a long time. In the world of business and in the world of finance, you are a valuable commodity because you know an awful lot of people and you've got contacts with an awful lot of people. So therefore, people are interested in what you've got to say.
Why would Gordon Brown get hired to give a speech to a bunch of bankers?
Because he was the Prime Minister.
But he nearly bankrupt Britain.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. He knows about the way that the financial systems around the world work. He's au fait with the numbers of people that, he needs that they might want to talk to. I mean, it's that world.
I wouldn't put him in charge of running the Bring and Buy stall at the King's School Chester Summer Fair.
Well, he might not make success of it.
I wouldn't give George Osborne a job under any circumstances because I
just don't like the look of it.
Well, I believed him to be a posh boy from a very wealthy family playing at politics and getting it wrong. Yeah. All these guys are the same. Would you give Nick Clegg a job?
No.
To do anything?
No.
I mean, that man was just, in my view, a charlatan in terms of, political beliefs and what he said he would do that he didn't do and all that kind of stuff. These guys politicians to me are scum. They are scum.
I can see you getting really wound up there, but I think you've used the wrong word there. You've defeated your own argument by being too objectionable. I think to call all politicians scum is to, I would say, give away the fact you don't know anything about politics.
There are selected ones.
Because I think you're absolutely wrong about that.
I'm telling you, who are scum. And
that's different.
What I really object to is that sometimes the professional journalism, is put at the bottom end of the scale of, people you least respect, or at the top of the scale, actually. The worst jobs in the world, people you least respect.
Well, I think you'll be seeing
journalists and all this kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, but I mean, looking at what's happened in the United States. Well, hang on, looking at what's happened in the United States and what's happened here is rather akin to the recognition that actually most people hold politicians in rather low esteem, don't they? And that's why the status quo has been upset.
Yeah, well, I suppose
and that's
you're
why
right.
Donald Trump's in the White House.
I suppose you're right.
And why, despite what politicians supposedly wanted,
but you read these,
the people voted to leave the European Union.
Yeah, you read these stories all the time. I've got a list of people here who've cashed in. So, for instance, Sir Craig Oliver, his old job was number 10 Director of Communications. Right. New job, Senior Managing Director at Global Consultancy Firm.
Yeah, well, he wasn't an MP, was he?
No, he was an MP, but he's cashing in.
Advisor. Yeah, but he's cashing in. I mean, that's
but he still earned public money.
But he works as a consultant. That's what these guys do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But they didn't earn the right to earn money through their own efforts. It was through the public purse.
That's not true.
No, it is true. I know what I'm talking about.
I mean, Craig Oliver, for example, is a very good example because he worked in the public sector for a very short period of time.
Yes.
He came from the private sector. He was asked to go and work in Downing Street. He went and did that, and now he's back in the private sector.
Yeah,
it's like you saying that for some reason, any sort of public works that you've done, for example, having worked for the BBC from time to time, you should not be able to cash in on that and get a job in the commercial radio sector. That's nonsense.
Yeah,
rubbish.
Well, you
Complete
say that.
Cobblers.
But look at this one here. This guy here is Sir Henry Bellingham, right?
Oh, yeah.
No, I've never heard of Sir Henry Bellingham.
He's never heard of you either.
No idea why he's got a knighthood, just a pen pusher, civil servant. Oh, absolutely.
Well, civil servants get knighthoods.
So here you go. So his old job, Africa Minister, who lobbied Mozambique in support of mining firm Pathfinder Minerals. He's now left government, and guess what his job is now?
He's working for Pathfinder Minerals?
Chairman, Pathfinder Minerals. How did you guess?
Well, there you go.
I mean, honestly.
Call me old-fashioned.
Honestly.
It's just the way of the world, mate.
Honestly.
It's just the way of the world.
I don't know.
This is Talk Sport. Porkyvision coming up.
As your TV reviewer, I can reveal there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's your problem?
That music can only mean one thing. It is, of course, time for Porkyvision. And what an apt time to do Porkyvision.
Yes.
Because the papers are full of the television awards, which took place last night. Of course, there's lots of pictures of, glittering dresses and awards handed out for all sorts of people.
No
Holly
interest to me,
Willoughby's
mate.
there, Mylene Klass, Carol Vorderman, Sam Queck, Scarlett Moffat, Caroline Flack.
Yeah.
They're all there. Michelle Keegan, who you liked, didn't you?
Yeah.
In the Bobby Moore thing.
Good girl, yeah.
She's there as well.
Yeah, they're all there.
Anyway, we'll talk about that later. What have you got for us on Porkyvision?
Right, well, listen, we better concentrate on Apple Tree Yard, OK?
Apparently so.
And I told you Apple Tree Yard was off the Temple, didn't I?
Off the Temple?
Yeah, I said
yes.
Yeah, do you know where it is? It's off St James Square.
Somebody tweeted it yesterday.
Yeah, I found that out now because that's where I take my Rolex watch to be serviced. In St James's Square. That's what Rolex HQ is in this country.
Is that where the men in the white coats are?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, listen, this is a ludicrous programme, and it can't be taken seriously. To start off with, right. You know that it's all going to come to grief right from the opening shots when the central figure, who is a 50-plus-year-old geneticist, right? Geneticist. She's a scientist. A scientist.
Right.
She studies genetics.
Okay. Is this set in the modern day? I think you've said it is.
It's set right now.
Right.
And it all revolves around the geneticist doing work for the government. So a lot of it's in Parliament and all this kind of stuff, Okay. And the most ludicrous, it's going to come to grief because the geneticist in the opening shots is actually in the back of a police wagon that transports people to jail. These white things with all the little rooms in them and windows.
What they used to be called a Black Maria.
Black Maria, but it's a white one now, yeah. And
so is this a guy then?
No, this is a woman.
Oh, a woman.
50-plus-year-old woman, geneticist, is in the back of this police wagon being taken to jail in handcuffs, right?
Okay.
So it's not going to end well. And it opens with her having given... it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. She's given evidence to a government committee, OK?
I thought it was full of Rogerisation.
I'm about to tell you if you just shut up and listen.
Well, hang on.
Yeah,
but I presume it's not with her. It's not with the main character.
It is. So she's given evidence to this committee. Oh, yeah. She comes down the stairs in Parliament and gets to the central lobby. I recognise the central lobby because I used to be a parliamentary correspondent, of course. The inside of the building.
You did not?
I did.
Anyone who's ever been there would recognise it.
Yeah. Anyway, so then this bloke comes along and she's never seen before in her life, and we still don't know who he is or what he is, and he says, "Have you ever seen The Crypt?" Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, I don't know why you're laughing, but and she says, no. He says, come on, I'll show you.
Right.
So they go down these stairs, and he shows this crypt, and apparently it's the place where an MP can get married, you know what I mean? Because of all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And it's a very, special sort of part of the Commons.
Secret.
And he says, there's an even more secret room here.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a broom cupboard.
And how old is this guy?
This guy's about the same age as her,
so
if not a little younger.
In their 50s.
I'd say probably in his middle 40s or something. So anyway, He says, come and see this. So he takes her into a broom cupboard.
Yeah.
And this woman, who's a professor, 50, married, stable home, big house, in North London somewhere, goes into this broom cupboard of this bloke, right?
Yeah.
Who then starts kissing her.
Right.
And then takes her knickers down.
Really?
And performs sex on her.
What?
Standing up.
What do you mean?
He doesn't take his clothes off.
What do you mean he performs sex on her?
He has sex with her standing up.
Well, he doesn't perform sex on somebody else, isn't it?
Well, no. What I mean
do
is,
that as well, does he?
Well, no, he
does that
doesn't.
first?
But what I'm saying is, this guy, right?
Well, why wouldn't she? Just because she's got a house and a husband.
Because she met this man 5 minutes ago.
So
she met this man 5 minutes ago.
Right.
So anyway, now in the
What's the name of it? Apple Tree what?
Apple Tree Court.
Okay.
Now in the Apple Tree Yard. Now in the Tom Hiddleston one, right, the night manager.
He's not in this, is he?
No, he's not in this. But at least when he was having standing up sex, behind the door.
Yeah, he did with that very tall woman.
Yeah, but at least he removed his trousers to below his buttocks to enable.
Yeah, but why would you want to see that?
Well, you don't want to see it. But what I'm saying is, the only part.
Are you upset because the guy didn't take his trousers off?
No. The only part that this man's body was exposed was like from the front part of the zip of his trousers.
Yeah.
And this lady,
Is that him there?
That's
Is
him.
that the guy?
That's him.
Ben Chaplin.
That's him.
Well, so he was having sex with Emily Watson.
Yeah.
She's not that old.
Well, she's over 50 in the production.
Are you sure?
Yeah, and they're standing up, and they just sort of do a bit of grunting and groaning for about 2 or 3 minutes.
Right.
And then it's all over.
Right.
And then they reattire themselves, and they come out of the crypt.
Well, he doesn't have to reattire himself much, does he?
No, he doesn't much at all. I totally agree. And they come out of the crypt, and they go home. I mean, it's just like, that's it, you see. Right. So anyway.
I don't see why it's upset you so much.
Well, because it's so ridiculous.
Isn't it meant to be very passionate? Isn't that the point of it?
It's not passionate. It's sordid and seedy and dirty.
Seedy. Really?
Because they're having...
It's not like you not to enjoy that.
They're having very rapid sex between two strangers, almost dogging, really, isn't it?
It's only dogging if somebody's watching.
In a broom...
I suppose a lot of people are watching on television.
Well, no, they're not, are they? In a broom cupboard in the House of Commons. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, why is it ridiculous? Are you seriously telling me that nobody's been doing that in the House of Commons over the course of the last several decades?
Not when they've met a 50-year-old professor of genetics 5 minutes earlier. It's ludicrous.
No, well, I don't think it is.
So anyway, she goes home. So then, right...
Is this before she's arrested, then?
Oh, well, we haven't got round to the arrest bit. That comes
at the end. I thought you said she was in a Black Mariah.
That's a flashback thing.
Oh,
it's a flash forward. A flash forward thing. It's a flash forward thing, yeah.
Okay.
So they'd shown how it ends. Anyway, so
she wasn't being arrested for the lewdness in public or anything?
Well, I don't know. We don't know what she's arrested for because that was just the start of it and that's how it's going to end. But we don't know why it's going to end, you see, like that. So anyway, she then goes and starts hanging around this cafe because it's near the area where she thinks that this bloke who's been, indulging in sexual activity with her.
Oh, she goes looking for him?
Yeah, she sort of goes looking for him. And she's sitting in the window having a cup of tea and he walks past and he waves. So he comes in and they sit there and talk like they're two old friends, even though they've only known each other for 5 minutes in the rest of their lives. And that was for indulgent sexual activity. And what happens is she agrees to go to like a bar with him where they go into the bathroom, lock the door, and have standing up sex again. Again.
Blimey.
Yeah, right?
Well, I suppose they must quite enjoy that then.
Well, I mean, clearly something very odd about this chap and probably about her as well.
How do you know they don't know each other?
They don't. They've never met.
Really?
Never met. Anyway, the third time they have standing up sex.
Right. So they only have standing up sex.
They only have standing up sex. They don't book a room, don't get a hotel, they don't go to each other's homes.
Yeah.
Third time, he wants it down a back alley.
What?
So he takes her down a back alley, tells her to remove some of her underwear.
Yeah.
And
I don't know why she bothers wearing it.
I don't know either. And then has standing up sex with her.
Again?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, at this point...
I guess they're getting quite good at it now.
They're getting quite good at it. Now, at this point, we get a hint of what this guy might be, because she says, the spy cameras all over the place. He says, don't worry, they're not activated.
Really? How does he know that?
Well, she then starts muttering to herself that she thinks he's a spook, like a MI6 or something like that, because he knows about cameras. Anyway, it then becomes even more completely ridiculous. All this is happening in total secret, and she can't,
what about her husband and all that?
Well, she's got a husband at home who she thinks might be indulging in sex with his researcher. He's an academic as well.
Okay.
He's some kind of academic. They were typical liberal...
Morals of an alley cat all round.
Morals of an alley cat all round. Anyway, She then goes to a leaving party, right?
Yeah.
For, like, some colleague at the Genetics Institute or something.
Okay.
And at the end, in the main room, a colleague who looks perfectly normal with glasses, a bit like you, says...
Perfectly normal?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Can I share a taxi with you, whatever her name is? You know, she says, yes.
This is Emily Watson again.
Emily Watson, yeah. So this is where it gets really ridiculous. He says, look, I've just got to get my coat and stuff from my office. Yeah, come along with me and we'll go out through the entrance over there. So they go into his office, he shuts the door, then he beats her up.
What?
Right, starts smacking her in the face.
Why?
Well, because he says then, this is where it says, you're being, and they uses a rude word for indulging in sex, by somebody else, aren't you? You know, you're getting it all...
He's not the husband, though.
No, he's not the husband, and
who's he,
he's
then?
not the lover. Well, this is the point.
Right.
Could he be, you know, could he have got his information from somewhere else?
But why would he care, though?
Well, I don't know, do I? But it becomes clear. He says, OK, well, if you can be getting, uses a rude word again, by, somebody else, you can have it from me. So he then pushes her back on the couch, lifts her skirt, and, without being too graphic, starts indulging for the first time in the whole hour-long show.
Lying down, horizontal refreshment.
In a bit of horizontal refreshment rather than vertical refreshment,
it makes a change for her,
which has been happening for the rest of the show.
But surely he's committing some kind of offence, isn't he?
Well, of course, but that's the end of the first episode.
I see.
So we have to desperately wait for the start of the second episode.
So what's it about, then?
Well, who knows? It's all very strange. Yeah. It's all very strange.
It's based on a novel, I think, isn't it?
It's I don't know. Is it?
I think so.
Is it? Okay, but maybe it is. But I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing.
So is it good or bad?
Well, I think it's very strange, very weird, and I find it very difficult to take seriously. Now, the other programme I want to tell you about is what is it now? There was Taboo.
Taboo.
Now in Taboo, there's a Rogerisation scene which is even worse.
Really?
Yeah, because
I missed that. I watched Taboo.
Ah, right. Now
I watched it on Sunday.
Now you know the great actor that we always talk about.
Who?
You know, the guy in Taboo.
What? Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy is the guy that Stephen Knight portrayed in Peaky Blinders.
That's the one.
Well, he's out on a vengeance mission, as I told you last time.
Yeah.
But he walks into an establishment.
Oh, isn't this the place where the men are all dressed as women?
Well, I haven't seen that yet, no.
Did you not notice that?
No.
They were supposed to be men, I think.
He walks into an establishment to talk to a woman who is actually in the process of being Rogerised by another man. Yes.
Are you sure she's not a man, though?
No, she's definitely not a man.
Are you sure?
Definitely. And I'll tell you why. Because as he walks in, the man who's doing the Rogerising suddenly goes, oh, sorry, moves away, and she pulls her dress down. I mean, it's so active Rogerisation.
It's a sort of whorehouse scene, isn't it?
It's a whorehouse scene, something like that, yeah. He then goes off and sets fire to somebody's boat and all that, you know.
I'm sure that the whole point of that scene, though, is that the woman is actually not a woman.
No, she's definitely a woman.
Are you sure?
I'm sure she's a woman, because he takes her wig off and she's got, like, woman's hair underneath it. You see what I mean? All that kind of stuff.
Why is she wearing a wig, then?
I don't know. Don't know why she's wearing a wig. I don't know.
There's also a scene where some guy's getting spanked as well.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Oh, you didn't see that?
No, I haven't seen that yet, no.
It was in the same episode.
In the same episode?
Yeah. No. In the same scene.
In the same scene?
Yeah, in the same place.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I couldn't have been concentrating on that too much. So anyway...
I think if you get overexcited by the other story.
So there's all that going on. There's all that going on. No, don't worry about the time, honestly, because this is important cultural stuff.
It is, yeah.
And then...
What else you got?
Well, on top of all that, I've been watching... I can't remember what it's called now, actually, but it's another show where... It involves like a Cagney and Lacey type situation.
What?
It's like a police thing.
Two women?
Yeah, it's two women. Yeah, I forgot what it's
called
now.
Or just men dressed as women?
No, they're definitely two women. But anyway, look, the point is, I am getting increasingly...
It's an American show?
I don't think it's American, no. But I'm getting increasingly worried about the amount of illicit sort of sexual... contact between the sexes that's going on television.
Why?
Well, because I just don't think it's good for anybody to...
Well, you wouldn't have Porkyvision if they did.
I would do more artistic stuff if this wasn't all going on, but I feel I have to raise the alarm about these sort of things, you know? It ain't good. It ain't good, really.
Charles says, Porky, surely the term for this sort of act is vertical refreshment.
Well, it is vertical refreshment. You're absolutely right. That's exactly what it is. But it's not good for the moral fibre of the country, in my view.
OK. Well, thank you very much indeed. That was Porkyvision.
It was.
Same time next week.
Definitely.
More of the same.
Definitely.
Talk Sport.
Yeah.
The lady
Sport, we are the two mics. Of course, there will be some, what can only be described as a Porky quiz activity tomorrow on Winston Churchill. But right now, we should go back to Lisa O'Sullivan, I think, and find out what's going on at the Australian Open.
Idea.
Lisa.
Coco van der Wey and Venus Williams playing in the first of the women's semi-finals. We had an early exchange of serve with van der Wey breaking Venus Williams in the first game of the competition. 4 break points before she managed to convert that, and then she failed to hold her own serve, with Venus Williams only having the 1 break point and taking it to go 1-all. So Coco van der Wey now serving 40-30 to 3 on serve in this first set.
Thank you very much indeed, Lisa O'Sullivan, watching the Australian Open for us all the way through the morning, of course. Whenever I hear that Coco van der Wey's name, I think of The Lion Sleeps Tonight. You know, van der Wey, you know, like
what
that.
did I think of?
What?
I know, Coco's the star. Oh, you know, that's the sweet. You know,
I don't remember that one.
You don't remember it? No. You know, Ballroom Blitz was one of theirs.
Well, I remember Ballroom Blitz.
The other one was Coco's a Star.
I don't remember that one. Now, Steve, who's the one with the beautiful brown lab who picked you instead of me over the Heroes and Villains, has got a great picture that he's posted of the lab saying, hooray, Rogerisation is back, but what about the family show aspects of the show?
Yes,
I've had to cover the dog's ears.
Yes, that's right.
He gave me a hard time for calling him a black lab, so that's why I've corrected it. It's a brown lab.
He's a chocolate.
He is, in fact, chocolate lab. Yeah.
Okay, now William says here, it happened at the White House often enough with Bill Clinton, so why not at Westminster, Porky?
What, vertical refreshment?
Yeah, vertical refreshment and Rogerisation. Yes. Well, the answer to that is, I think Bill Clinton, of course, was the ultimate sort of Rogeriser through the power of being the President of the United States. This guy's just some stranger.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds like a very thin story, but as I say, I think it is based on the some novel or other, so maybe it will get more interesting. That was the first one, right?
Yeah, it was the first episode of 3, I think.
So would you recommend that people watch it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely, because it's become a bit of a mystery. Never mind the old Rogerisation. You can see that in plenty of forms online, anywhere you like, but it's a mystery. Now, it says here, this is Ian in Shenzhen. That's in China, isn't it?
Shenzhen is in China, yeah.
Yeah, and he says, hi, guys, the TV review is absolutely amazing, listening at 11:35 in the morning. So that's plus, the time he sent it, 3:35, that's plus 8.
What?
Plus 8 hours
plus
to
8
China.
Hours,
yeah.
Well, that sounds about right.
That's about right.
Because I think it's plus 11 to Melbourne, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Where we're watching the tennis. Funnily enough, there's a story in China that I tweeted out earlier this week that I wanted to mention to you.
Yes.
And it's basically an invention that somebody has made down there where a tower has been built which sucks in China's smog.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. And then
turns it into jewellery.
Turns it into power and all this kind of stuff.
It turns into all sorts of stuff,
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that weird?
Well, no, I think that's a brilliant bit of technology if you can clean the air and produce them at the same time. Young Becky, of course, big fan of ours, says, nice tribute to Mary Tyler Moore, guys. She changed the stereotypical TV view of women in the 70s and 80s. She
did. Very important feminist, right?
Yeah.
But I sensed that you weren't interested in my feminist conversation, so we didn't stay on it for very long.
No, it was.
Because you're such a great supporter of feminism.
What?
I said because you're such a great supporter of feminism.
I am indeed.
By the way, did you not take any interest?
I think women should be empowered.
Did you take any interest in that big sort of debate that was going on all day because of the government report on high heels and whether women should wear them or not?
Well, I don't want to get involved in that because whatever you say about it, you're going to be criticised. I like women to look attractive.
But you like being criticised. I mean, you're always, you must like it because you're always being criticised.
I like women to look attractive because it makes me feel better. It doesn't
makes you feel better.
Yeah, but seeing an attractive woman should make you feel better if you're heterosexual, and it certainly makes me feel better.
Does it?
And
what's that got to do with them?
It doesn't matter to me whether it's in the workplace, whether it's out socialising, whether it happens in another part of your life or whatever. Women look better when they look attractive, so that's all I can say. And that's not a sexist thing. That just
of course it's not. No.
I tell you what I did.
But you did once send somebody home for wearing a skirt that was too short.
Well, it was too short.
So you can't be called a double standard man, can you?
No, it's too short for her to be able to have done a job properly, so that's what I had to do. Now,
it would have been ideal for vertical refreshment, though.
Well, I was the news editor. I had a responsible job. I wasn't there to try and take sexual advantage of young reporters, who
just take advantage of the secretaries.
Who were working under my command.
You just took advantage of the secretaries. The reporters were too smart.
Now, listen. Just stop that. Let's cut that out, pal.
Right.
Now, what I was going to tell you about was, didn't Mr Corbyn make a bit of a blunder in Parliament today?
Well, he killed off. He did a Porky, actually. I mean, you knew he killed off Mike Oldfield. He killed off this poor police officer in Northern Ireland who was shot in the arm.
That's right.
I think he was only shot in the arm.
He stood up and I heard it, and then I didn't realise what he'd done. But he said, I want to add my condolences to the family of PC, and he named him and all that, and I thought...
And then he said, who lost his life.
Lost his life, and I thought to myself, crikey, I'm getting slow my old age. I don't remember hearing about a policeman getting killed in Ireland, and normally with Ireland I have antennae, because I worked there for 18 months when I was on the Daily Express, and I thought...
Funnily enough, I did think of you, actually, when the report came in that there'd been a shooting at a petrol station, because after Martin McGuinness stepped down and said that he wasn't going to run because he's suffering from this terminal illness, right? Yeah. You did say it'd be good if they could make sure that it all gets very sorted out democratically in
that's
Ireland,
right.
because it can be a very dangerous place.
Well, you create a power vacuum if you haven't got strong leadership in Ireland,
Right.
But anyway, that was,
But his apologists, right? His apologists were on Twitter saying things like, well, you can say condolences about lots of things without meaning somebody who's died. Until it was pointed out, well, hang on, you plank.
Yeah.
He actually said the guy lost his life.
That's right, he lost his life.
You can't get out of it that way. And in fact, I believe that there are calls for him to apologise because he's actually kind of quite traumatised the family.
I know. You mentioned China there, right, in that building.
I did.
Now then, have you come across this really strange thing called the brushes?
The what?
The brushes from China.
No.
Right. Unordered fake goods are being sent at random to homes in Britain by gangs in China paid to inflate the sales of online retailers.
Really?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Well, I couldn't work it out. What happens is... what happens is this.
Right.
This is how brushes work.
Go on.
The person selling their goods recruits a gang of brushers who place...
Well, who are they, though?
Well, I'm trying to work this out myself, but you will work it out between us. Who then place fake orders to homes in the West, in Europe and America.
Oh, what? So making out that you've ordered something that you haven't actually ordered?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. The brusher mimics a legitimate buyer on the internet site.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
I don't know what that means. Do you? Mimics.
Yeah, basically, I suppose...
A legitimate buyer.
Well, it sounds to me like they kind of shadow you.
Yeah.
So if you're on the internet buying something, they're kind of shadowing exactly what you're doing. If you know what I mean.
The person who owns the goods then pays for you, the brusher, to send the person you've identified one of their products.
Right.
A cheap product is sent to a random address anywhere in Europe or America.
Uh-huh.
The seller's online profile is then boosted by the number of sales. But the real trick here is that you're not...
So it's not like you're getting stuff through the post, though?
Yeah, you are.
Are you?
You are getting stuff sent to the post.
Isn't it just sort of sending stuff out for free, though?
No. Yeah, it's for free, but the problem is... What you're being sent is a very, very poor imitation of the real product, just so that they can say,
but if you didn't ask for it, then what difference does it make?
Well, because it's recorded as a sale. I don't know how, on the internet, it's recorded as a sale. Well, it can be recorded as a
sale to make their sales figures look better.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you get it, though, and it's something you don't want, you just chuck it away, don't you?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, what I'm saying is this is what happens. They've given an example here in my sales journals, right? They've given an example of how it works. So a woman called Melinda Simmons receives a package from China containing 2 fake Nike sweatshirts, okay?
Right.
They weren't ordered or paid for. She thought she'd been subject to a credit card scam. She checks with a bank and online shopping. Nobody's taken any money.
Right.
She said, when I opened the parcel, it was completely mystifying. She said, nobody in my family fits these things. They're obviously fake. They're cheap. I did think it was odd because I wasn't expecting anything. But it says that her experience is being played out in households across Britain and America where the arrival of mysterious packages from China with all, like Chinese lettering on the outside.
You'll have to watch out for it when you get your wine through the letterbox.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, containing what are clearly counterfeit sweatshirts, trainers and sunglasses,
right,
are leaving people across the world puzzled. Sports bras have turned up in Sussex, T-shirts in Ireland. No, I haven't seen any. Fake Gucci sunglasses in America.
Right.
Dolce & Gabbana bags and ties delivered unordered to homes in the Western world. Sometimes the content seems to have been selected at random. 2 days ago, I received a small package from China, said one householder. Inside was only a red string.
A red string?
A red string. Then yesterday, I got another similar pack, and inside was one sock. Yeah.
Well, that's quite handy, actually, because a number of times you lose one sock and you can never find it.
Yeah.
And I've got loads of pairs of socks that I've lost one sock from.
Well, there you go.
Maybe this is where they've been going all this time.
I don't know. One household in Sussex said, I've received 4 weird packages from China this year alone. I can't figure out why.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I've never had one.
No, I'm
feeling a bit left out now.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, brushers will try to mimic the actions of genuine buyers, such as browsing, comparing prices between sites and using varied delivery addresses. After the purchase, they'll often write favourable reviews.
Well, so it's all about boosting their own business, isn't it?
Purporting to be the recipient of the goods.
Well, I mean, that was going on as well in many places in this part of the world where people were sort of putting fake reviews of their product.
Yeah.
Because that's the trouble with the internet. You know, you can't, until you actually hold something in your hand, until you look at it, you can't necessarily tell how good it is. Yeah. And if you read all the reviews and believe them, you know, you end up going down a terribly ridiculous road. Because you go, oh, well, look at all these people who said it's great. Yeah. But they might all be being paid off
I don't know if this is a joke, but it says one person who's received several parcels says they come with a card saying, best wishes, Mr. Wang.
Mr. Wang?
Wang, yeah.
Well,
that might be a proper Chinese name.
Well, I'm sure it is a proper Chinese name. There's Vera Wang as well. She's a designer. Why are you laughing?
Well, you know, when you
Vera Wang is a very famous designer.
When you get a parcel, right, it's got one sock in it, the card. Best wishes, Mr. Wang.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, what do you think?
Wang number. Never mind. Anyway, this is Talk Sport. We've got to go.
So anyway, he says, come and see this. So he takes her into a broom cupboard.
Yeah.
And this woman, you know, who's a professor, 50, married, stable home, big house, you know, in North London somewhere, goes into this broom cupboard of this bloke, right?
Yeah.
Who then starts kissing her.
Right.
And then takes her knickers down and performs sex on her.
What?
Standing up.
What do you mean?
He doesn't take his clothes off.
What do you mean he performs sex on her?
He has sex with her standing up.
Well, he doesn't perform sex, it's somebody else, isn't it?
Well, no, what I mean is...
He does that as well, does he?
Well, no, he doesn't.
First?
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!